All right, I'm going to go ahead and call to order the work session for March 30th, 2017. Present, we have Mr. Floyd Thomas from the Mattaponi District. We have Mr. Clay Forehand from the Madison District. We have Mr. Jeff Seeley from the Bowling Green District. We have Mr. Reginald Underwood from the Reedy Church District. We have Mrs. Nancy Long from the Port Royal District. And I'm Jeff Black from the Western Caroline District. If you all please stand, I will do the invocation. Heavenly Father, as we come here tonight, we ask for your blessing and guidance to do what is best for all citizens of Caroline County. In your name we pray. Amen. Amen. All right, opening board comments. Mr. Thomas, do you have any?
No.
Mr. Forehand?
No, sir.
Mr. Seeley?
No, sir.
Mr. Underwood? No. Mrs. Long?
No.
And I have none as well. All right, we are number 4, discussion of payment request for Columbia Gas Line extension.
We received yesterday or Tuesday,
Wednesday, because Gary was about the staff meeting.
Wednesday, that Columbia Gas was expecting payment of
Aid to construction
for $78,000 for the contracts that they had sent, we just found out today, to the schools on January 30th for the line construction for the gas line to the middle school and high school. And those contracts expire tomorrow without payment. They haven't been executed by the schools. They are to the schools, not to us. We just happened to find out sort of from Columbia that they had not been paid or anything done with. We've been trying to contact the schools by email as to, are they going to do it? Do they want us to write the check? I don't want to write that. We have $75,000 that we put for
in the capital.
Correct. So we'll be a little bit short of that. You heard Tuesday night the schools asked for 50 grand more to partner with them to get the whole project done, because remember the whole project includes new boilers and conversion and various things. We don't know what the cost will be. This was the negotiated cost. Gary got worked out. Remember when we put Gary on this with Columbia?
$178,000, and they came back at $78,000.
Right. So we don't know that when this expires what the new number is going to be. You can make an assumption that it will be the same thing, but there's, like life, no guarantees. So we don't mind writing the check. I just didn't want to do it without your consent. At least get it ready and find out if the school's going to execute the contract, because it's written for them, not us. They're the customer. So anyway, it's really an update with a consensus of the board that we at least get a check ready to not let this fall through the cracks. I know the board's been adamant that we get this done to the schools, and I would assume if we do that, then the schools are going to expect another $47,000 for that $50,000 match if we put 3 extra in now to make this happen. They would obviously take the rest out of their contingency money, I assume, to get the new boilers put in and those type of things. But I'd be glad to answer any questions. That's probably the limit of my knowledge on this subject. Is they've had the contract since January 30th.
Since January 30th?
Yes, and we've been talking about what the board would do and match, so I'm not trying to put all the blame on them, but we didn't realize they were sitting on a contract that had a drop dead date of March 30th to execute or would become void.
Is there an execution date as far as when the work has to be completed by?
Both these agreements had to do with the aid to construction, which is $78,017 and something. And then the other is a deferral of a deposit agreement.
And we'd have to hook up our buildings within a year. We'd owe $246,000.
So the year time frame.
Yeah, that's still in there where we'd have to hook up, which we would expect to execute by the schools getting the boilers converted. The high school boilers, they already have the parts. It's just a matter of paying somebody to put them back in. They came in set up for natural gas and had to get converted to propane.
So was it $278,000 to connect?
It was they were giving us a discount on both numbers always, because if you don't use the natural gas and they put the line in, they want to recover all their costs, so they give you a
Okay, so if
reduction.
we connect, it's not a problem.
Not a problem. We have a fixed number that we had in that report that we gave to y'all, a while back, that, boilers all in and the payback was, 8 years, all that is fixed, but it's based on a contract that we didn't know from the county side, because we hadn't seen it, that has this drop dead date, sign this contract and pay us 77,000,
Can we sign the contract?
Well, no, because it's to them, it's on their name,
Can we,
between the
so if we
schools.
pay it, what does that mean?
We wouldn't pay it if the schools don't sign the contract. I just didn't want to write a check that y'all didn't know about.
All right, so you want permission to go ahead and have the check ready, and then you're gonna contact them tomorrow and get this worked out?
Continue to work on, are the schools going to execute, we'll tell them we're paying for it. It's puts you on the hook that they want another 47,000 because they wanted 50,000 additional dollars over the 75 we already had in their capital.
I guess they thought they'd get past budget with saying they were gonna do it.
That's the case.
Well, I don't think we have a choice. We want this to go through.
They ultimately save money. Their budget, once it's all hooked up, they've got money in their budget to purchase propane, and they'll be paying for natural gas at a much cheaper rate.
What are we gonna do about the other 48?
But there's just.
Well, I think you need to agree that that's,
They were all set to go. I heard them down at the bottom.
What is-
Because if you don't, they're not doing it. That's the bottom,
They came back to the
that was their
podium
bottom
just to
line.
say-
Just take it out of what we have budgeted for their schools.
And they're not.
We haven't approved budget yet.
Maybe the.
Can we take it out of the reversion funds?
Well, there's
They wouldn't
enough
consider
room
you
there to
paying for
read.
that,
They
and
should be able
they
to
want a
read.
2/3, 1/3 partnership.
Well, we just gave them $53,000 last night.
Why don't
They don't,
the two-thirds go on?
I'm not gonna
You're not gonna get.
represent the schools, but they wanted, that was a separate pot of money. They want 50 grand more to hook up the natural gas. They feel that that's what we want it, they'll put 2/3 toward it, we need to put 1/3. That's the best I can
And we
make
do
that
want our
argument.
buildings on natural gas, right? So,
That's
we
their
do want it.
argument.
What do you guys think about the extra 48?
They're gonna save that next year, right?
Yeah.
They'll start saving right away. Take them, the whole payback, and that's the unfortunate part, the whole payback, including our 75,000 that we already had committed, they're the ones that save that payback. Not, we never get that back. It's just a lower cost to operate the schools. It's more efficient. We have natural gas. So it's a lot of
No delivery,
positives.
no price spikes.
That's why we ran the line right by them.
Yeah,
No farm of tanks sitting out beside the school.
correct.
Right.
Can we have it come out of their contingency fund and go ahead and authorize it? We'll write it and have it come back out of the contingency later?
You can do that. I don't know that they would agree that that's a 2/3, 1/3 split if we're not, if they're putting the money up. They would consider they're putting the whole amount.
Okay, I'll do that too.
That was their request, is that the county pay 1/3 of the total cost. If you're not
The
willing
total
to
cost
do
of the
that,
natural gas or of the boilers and everything?
everything, total cost of the to convert. 1/3 of the project. They were willing to put 2/3 in if we would put 1/3 in.
but
I
don't
think
they
if we
already
start,
have funds for their heating system in their budget?
they don't have funds for those boilers.
Charlie, don't they have another $400,000 coming back from the insurance at the end of this year?
They have another amount, I don't know if I wanna quote it's 400, but it was a significant amount, more than 50,000 that they're asking us. I think this is another one of those things that if they were here, they would say this is, a partnership and they're willing to do 2/3 and want us to do 1/3.
Do we take that in the budget? We do want the natural gas for our buildings, correct? I don't know
Oh,
which
yeah,
ones
because
we're
it's
gonna
a
hook
huge
up
savings
to it,
down the
but,
road.
So we want it to go, and they're sort of the first step in this, correct? I don't know where Ron's from.
So how do we want to proceed with where it comes from? Anyone have any, we seem to be in agreement that we want them to do it. So where do we want, Mr. Thomas, what would you, you have an opinion of where you would like it to come from, contingency, reversion, current budget?
Doesn't really matter to me whether it comes from contingency, reversion, or their current budget. We just need to do it and get past it.
We have 75 already outlaid, I think we can
Yeah.
add 3 to it and just get past this date and then have the substantive discussion.
No, can I interject
Yeah,
something there?
absolutely.
That's where that 246 is gonna come on the hook. If you,
But they're the customer, right?
yeah, but you know who gets the ultimate bill?
Yeah, we get the bill regardless.
So I would worry that if they sign a contract and put the line in, and we don't pony up the money that we promised, they won't hook up.
Well, what did we say, what did we commit to?
We have committed 75.
All right,
They want another 50.
Well, we are pulling up to 75 though.
I know, but then you wouldn't still be making the 50. Their deal to hook up natural gas to their buildings is we pay a third, they pay 2/3. I'm pretty sure if we do anything that puts the other 50 on them, they're gonna say we didn't live up to the third that we owe, they're not doing it. Then, if Columbia's installing a line and they're going, we don't have a deal, we'll be in a pickle with Columbia. And we can't force it, it's their buildings.
Take it out of the reversion, because last night we gave them out of the general fund, correct? For the
With the guarantee that it'd be taken
paid
out
back.
at
oh,
the end of the
we
contingency.
say you keep the 57,000 and we call it our 50 and let it go.
I don't know, they've got $1.4 million in contingency.
I think they ought to be able to afford it all. That was that's where I started when we started with it with Dr. Parker. You should be able to fund the whole works, other than our 75 we've already got. That isn't what they came back with. They came back with, we want the county to put in a third, which would be another 50. I'm not advocating for that, but I think without them here, and we think that we're gonna take the money from them that they consider theirs, whether it's contingency,
He's right up the street, we can call him, he'll come.
fine with me.
He already told me
Across
that.
the street.
He's right up
Everybody
the
get a
street.
hold of him, see if
Yeah,
he'll
literally
come,
across the
we'll
street.
move on until he gets here.
I have his phone, my phone's dead.
Now, Charlie, say the numbers again. We originally agreed to do the line, which would cost us what?
We originally agreed to put 75,000 toward the project. It wasn't, we didn't know what the costs were, we just budgeted 75,000 for.
Well, we had an idea it was like 150 because Gary had
Something.
been working with them.
Right. And
So we were doing half.
We were in probably for half.
But now,
But
the project's bigger because the
Boilers were
boilers.
bad, we didn't want to upgrade the boilers for the, almost 50% to upgrade them, and they were that old and not known how well they had been maintained. So now we've got 125 per boiler for 250 in boilers, which may come down when you bid all that out, but for an estimate. And then the line cost, and then the conversion cost at the hospital, and then the rest of the appliances in the kitchen and the things they've got to convert. There's a total number. And when you reach that total number, what Dr. Parker has asked for is the county put up a third of that, which includes the 75, so the difference being 50. So he wants 125 from us, and they're going to put up the rest.
Let's just do it, and we'll take down the budget. We've
So
already
anything that we're
budgeted
doing,
for
if
all
we
that.
took money from them to match though, they're not going to consider us making it out of our money. That's all I'm trying to point out. And I'm
Right, so
confident
we
in
should
Sherry.
take
But
it
if
from the
there-
reversion fund.
If there is money left out of their budget for next year, then
We could
our
take it.
caveat should be that any monies come back, that we would take the 50 out for the connection first, before we talk about giving them any money back.
You need to do that with them. That's
I
not
mean,
a
that's fine,
conversation
but
I've
I mean,
had. I don't-
well, this board, I mean, I think this board can make that decision. And we'll tell them that if there's money, because it comes back to us, we agreed as a board to give the money back to them at the end of the year. We don't have to do it.
No, that's correct.
We made that
capital,
decision.
right.
This is capital, so
Right,
it still
right.
doesn't even conflict with that. with
Right.
that rule.
But do
That's
remember, previous superintendents have managed to spend all that.
Right, and I know that, and then What I say, since we're just, as far as the budget goes, I would certainly just tell them that you remember that we still are gonna control the budget next year. If we're partners, we're gonna play together. But if you wanna put the onus on us, then we'll make the decision. But you may not like the outcome. So you're either gonna dance with me now, or you're gonna dance with me later, but it's gonna be my music that we're dancing by. And I think that's what we ought to say and hold them to that. However they take it, that's up to them.
Someone got in touch with him?
They're gonna have $50,000.
Can we move on and come back to this, since we're gonna kinda need to have him here? The next one is award of a bid for custodial services for county buildings.
I thought you just came because you liked watching our meetings, Ted.
I knew I had to talk to you soon.
Good evening, Mr. Chairman, board members, pleasure to be here. I want to present some options for custodial services tonight. The Caroline County government currently occupies approximately 172,000 square feet of office space and multi-use facilities that have to be cleaned on a daily basis. In the past, we've accomplished our custodial needs through issuing requests for bids and subsequently awarding a contract typically to a single service provider who provides all those services for us. This, of course, requires every few years we have to go back out to bid, issue a new contract. So in February of this year, we published a request for bids for custodial purposes, custodial services. March 16th, we had a bid opening. We had 7 responses. And so staff immediately started analyzing those responses as well as looking at some other options available to the county. One of which was purchasing custodial services through a Virginia State contract. Another option was to do all the services in-house, which would require us to hire a full custodial crew. After a lot of deliberation, calculations, staff decided that neither of those options were financially feasible at this time. We do have, however, 2 options to present to the board tonight, both of which are doable within our current budget.
Thanks, sir.
So the 2 options that we have, the first one is essentially continuing with the tradition that we've been doing, awarding a contract based on the recent RFP, awarding those services to a single contractor. However, we have some issues with that procedure. For instance, we added 18,000 square feet to clean this year with Lake Smith Community Center. So as we add more space and spread out more, we currently have, I think, 16 buildings that we're providing services for, locations in Dawn, Bowling Green, Lake Smith, Carmel Church. It becomes really difficult for us to manage that contract, to follow up behind a single contractor, make sure everything's being done the way it should be, on the right frequency, and with the right quality. Especially with regards to some of the more specialized services, floor stripping and buffing, carpet shampooing, those types of things. Within this bid, we did have a parent low bidder who's qualified that can provide services for us within the current budget, the approximate amount of $233,588. But to address some of those concerns that we've had, we looked at a second option, and we're calling that a hybrid option. But essentially, under that plan, we would still issue a contract, more limited in scope. County staff has identified a number of areas that we feel we can clean in-house much cheaper than we can do on contract. Areas that can be cleaned during the day rather than during the evening, so there's little impact or no impact to county staff or the visiting public. It does require us, obviously, to hire a full-time position. That position would be responsible for cleaning those areas that we've identified where we can have some significant savings in, and instead of putting them on contract. That position would also be responsible for overview, oversight, and management of the custodial contract, as well as any third-party suppliers or service providers we bring in. For instance, we want to bring in someone to do floor stripping and buffing, someone who specializes in that. This position would coordinate that, make sure it goes smoothly, make sure it's done properly. The position would also give us something we haven't had in a long time, and that's basically like a day porter position. We used to have this years ago. I think that position was eliminated in the reduction of force 7 or 8 years ago. So if this person working days, Monday through Friday, when all of us are also here in the facilities, if there's an emergency that happens, if someone gets sick in the treasurer's office, if a toilet overflows in the courthouse, this person would be available to immediately respond to that and assist in that cleanup. Right now, we're putting grounds people doing it and everything else. So this would really give us something that the county's been lacking for probably 7 or 8 years. The hybrid service, hybrid option, we feel gives us the best oversight, the best control, the most flexibility to provide the best services for county facilities. And it's also a little bit cheaper than going with the traditional method of farming everything out to a single contractor. Having said that, it would require the board to approve a full-time position. There is also a small capital outlay cost, $22,000, that's for a service vehicle. If the board wanted to go this route, we would recommend, rather than a cash purchase, that we do a lease purchase on that vehicle, spread the cost out over 5 years. That still keeps us under budget. But I'd be happy to answer any questions or try to in any way that you have.
I got a question.
Yes, sir.
Was there a reason why we weren't presented with this the other night or on the regular?
Wasn't ready.
We've been
Make a
working on
decision
that.
tonight.
No, okay.
Mr. Chairman, I just make a motion that we defer and
Yeah.
discuss this
Yeah, thank you.
at our April meeting.
Yeah, I agree. I completely agree. Do I have a motion to defer? Does anyone have any other, is there a second on that motion?
So just hear the reason.
When is it bid over? I mean,
We have plenty of time.
that's what I thought. We're all right.
Okay.
Yeah,
Don't
'cause
mind.
that was my question,
We're
do we
fine.
need to know for
Yeah.
budget reasons? Okay.
We just wanted to present it before you guys.
We
make a
wanted to
decision on
finish
the budget.
before you finish budget. It wasn't ready to go in the budget. We wanted to present, it's my idea to bring it to you tonight, not theirs. So you would have it before we got to the end of budget, and then you go, why didn't you bring it before? Because we wasn't ready to get all of the information back. You don't have to make a decision tonight, but we would like some guidance. And it really is a benefit to have a janitor on duty during the day. We do have incidences of things in
Why
various
don't we
places,
just
and then
go
you have to
ahead
pull a guy that's cutting grass to come in.
One more time, Dorothy?
And so, I don't want a decision tonight, I'm just saying that it is a benefit that we don't have now without any cleaning staff available for any of these buildings with public in them.
There's a motion, Mr. Underwood made a motion. Was there a second to that?
I'll second it.
Okay, motion to defer until next.
Could I ask a question so you'll know?
Yes, sir.
How long is the RFB contract gonna be? Is it 1 year or 3?
Initially, it's a 2-year extendable, by 1-year increments thereafter for a total of 5.
So we'd still be paying for the car after their contract is over?
After the initial 2 years, yes, sir.
Okay, thank you, sir.
Okay, so we have a motion, a second to defer. Just all in favor?
Aye.
Okay, motion carries. All right, now we can get to the, thank you, Mr. Lambert. Now we can get to the proposed budget. Oh, Dr. Park, I'm sorry, Dr. Park, come on. We had some questions regarding the gas line extension.
Yes, I think the question out, when I talked to Alan, where was the school board on the gas conversion agreement? When I spoke to the board back in, I want to say February, I immediately took it to the board at the next meeting and shared with them the conversation because, you know, about the possibility that we were within the budget. We shared the information on the budget, the budgeted gas conversion, and that the cost would be savings in about 7 or 8 years. The board is favorable of partnering with the county for the conversion. However, with the total cost, I think they would be more inclined for a 2/3, 1/3 split, with the 2/3 of the cost coming from our reversion funds, not reversion, I'm sorry, contingency from the construction project, to pay for the remaining portion. I think the county already has 75,000 allocated. That would just be an additional 50,000 on the county side. And that would be 1/3 of the cost right there. We would take care of the remaining costs for everything else.
You realize the contract expires tomorrow.
I was not aware of that, and I was not aware of a bill that was due tomorrow.
That's why we had
what I would
that
say
over
is-
here.
Yeah, and if there's any way we can, our board meets on Monday, so if we could get some type of extension till next week, I'm sure I can get an agreement from my
The
board on Monday.
contract, I believe, is to you,
March
not
31st. It's to you, and it ends tomorrow, it's not signed.
The original deal,
The contract for this,
we
Tell
would
it,
pay
yeah.
for.
so I'll probably need to do an
Prices are good.
emergency meeting with my board.
So we don't know if the prices are good.
Okay. Well, I would have to get with the board tomorrow and work that part of that portion out. Was there a question, was there a question about the cost as far as if we get this contract signed?
It's a question about $50,000 more.
Yeah. I think I can get approval from my board tomorrow in an emergency setting if we need to get it processed
And
tomorrow.
I think that was a big concern, is that there's a contract that you've had since January, and it's expired. You know, and it's expiring tomorrow, and we want to make sure this is what you want to do, and that, you know, it just gave us a shock to us.
I don't think I didn't see the back end of that contract, Charlie. I thought that's totally my apologies there. I didn't know that it expired tomorrow. I know we had the contract, and I know we were working out the figures to see if we were going to do it. And we presented the information to our board. We were just waiting to see if the county was willing to put up the remaining 1/3, and we're on.
What is, just out of curiosity, because there's going to be a massive amount of savings, I'll get to you in a second, Mr. Underwood. There's going to be a savings of this over a period of, what, 7 years by the time it pays for itself?
After that,
After that, it's supreme. Is there a reason why the whole thing can't be minus the 75,000 from us, because which we've already promised is 75,000? Is there a reason why that, with a $1 million contingency and whatever you've got left in the reversion, that can be taken out of one of those funds?
Well, I think the total remaining amount equates to somewhere close to 300,000 or something like that, which would take a huge bite out of the construction contingency. And we knew on the back end, at the time, we didn't know what the remaining contingency would be needed for. So we know we still have some other capital improvement needs as well. And we were thinking that with the payout for this project being 7 or 8 years down the line,
Well,
it would be feasible to.
it's not quite 7 or 8 years down the line because we're counting the boilers. You know, when we initially proposed the project, it was, you know, we assumed your boilers had been maintained and they were going to be good for the conversion. So the line, and you'd start saving money probably the next year based on oil or propane costs. That's neither here nor there now. Who's your point of contact for this project?
Mr. Honan has been working with the county side on getting to make sure the figures are straight for the project, and that was his suggestion based on the current status of the boilers. They are fully operational, but based on the year.
Yeah, I mean, that's
life
fine.
cycle of those boilers.
We agree.
We
Yeah,
investment too.
So do the contracts go to Mr. Honan or?
Yes.
Mr. Underwood, I think you.
Dr. Parker, so if I'm hearing you correctly, if the board were asking you to pay the additional $50,000 and not be paid by the board, you're saying that your board would have an objection to that?
I've already presented the plan to them, I think, and again, I can't speak for every board member.
Right.
But in presenting this information last month, I think the majority of the board was on board for Matt partnering with the county now that we can see that there is a savings associated with the project.
No. I'm asking about the additional $50,000 that we need to seal the deal right now. So if the board were to ask the schools to pay the additional $50,000, there would be an objection from your end, is that correct?
I believe there would be some board members that would have.
Even though you have additional monies left over from the.
And again, I don't want to speak for the board, but I know that when we looked at the project, when we looked at it as a partnership.
Right.
And a long range investment.
Right, right. My
And
concern.
again, you know,
Right.
even if there's savings on the project, you know, 7 or 8 years down the line, you know, who's to say that savings is gonna go to the school division?
Right, right.
So I mean, so
But-
there's still that, I mean, all of us, 7 or 8
Right.
years ago, we don't know, 7 or 8 years from now, we don't know our future.
Right.
The people who are making this decision right now may not be sitting at the table 7 or 8 years
But I-
and
but I-
looking at the bottom line on where those finances may be allocated.
But I only,
So,
I only
so that's
want
why we felt that it would be a good idea to partner 2/3, 1/3
Right.
in this project because it will benefit both the county and the school.
I understand, but I only want to kind of stay on this $50,000 for just a second. So my question that I want you to relate to the board is that if the county is asking the schools to pay the additional $50,000 for the Columbia Gas extension, would they be willing to do that?
I can't speak for the board on that, in that regard. I would be presumptuous.
Because at this point, the county, right, so our preference
Because I
is that
presented to them as a 2/3, 1/3 split. And that's what they were inclined to do. And that's what I know I could bring back to them and fully, and get their full support on. Whether they would approve the additional 50, I would have to leave that to the board's decision. But I would promise this board a quick turnaround on that, because I do think the project is in our best interest. But again, who's to say 8 years from now, which would be their concern, 8 to 10 years from now, that those funds would be fully going towards the school division.
I mean, it's already in your budget, where else would it go? You're already paying the fuel bill, and the savings would be in your budget. There's no place else for that money to go but in your budget.
I mean,
And you'd be saving the money, and the boiler money would be up front. So all this, that aside, because it's coming out of capital, the savings on natural gas and for propane is immediate. So the 300,000 for the boilers, or 250 for the boilers, put that aside, that'll be paid for. Your savings is next year, propane versus natural gas. So, I mean, the money's not coming back to us, the money goes to you guys, you pay the bill. So
Yeah.
to say that you don't know if it would be in your budget, it would be in your budget, you're paying the bill, we're not.
I understand that piece, I understand that piece. I'm just saying, the people who are making the decision 8 years from now.
No, it won't matter 8 years from now, because the 300,000,
Which
wait,
is why the board,
no,
which is
no,
why
no,
the
no,
board
no,
is
no,
saying,
no.
why don't we partner on this project together?
Gentlemen, I think what
And I don't-
happened,
yeah.
just like the furniture in Madison, Mr. Seeley and I both said, when we talked about gas and kept pushing natural gas, is you will have that money, it'll be in your budget, you can have it. Because I think when we originally got it, it was another teacher, the savings per year. But having been burned once, we should probably have a motion that says for X number of years, you get to keep whatever that difference is. You just need to report it back to us. Because we've done things like we did a lighting change in the schools and a bunch of energy studies based on savings, and we never knew what those savings were. So it's your money. My vote would be to keep it. I'm probably not going to be here in 7 or 8 years, but you know, if I am, you can keep it, but we probably need something that says you keep it. And that protects
I would
you.
be amenable to bring back whatever this board suggests. I'm just sharing what I presented to the board, is that same thing we talked about that night at your board meeting.
Right.
So so I'll be a little presumptuous to speak to the board on behalf of not doing the 2/3, 1/3 split.
Mr. Whiteman, I mean, you were part of this, correct? You're part of this process, correct?
We're not going to be in there, but
Excuse me,
you
hold-
know that they say.
What was the savings per year in operations for natural gas, for propane? Do you know, like, as far as, how much savings they would have per year?
No, yeah, I had that handout, Mr. Black, but I didn't, I don't recall.
We're looking that up.
They're buying 10, remember he said that last time? You know what I'm saying?
So,
needed?
Do what?
No, that's our capital thing right there. That's the 75 we have. And the boilers are,
So there's $16,000 a year savings at the high school estimated, $18,841 at the middle school. Transportation was a little bit, $3,700.
we're talking $34,000.
Savings, and that would be
37.
as soon as, in a year from hooking up, they would have that money back.
And that's what
in
we
their
said,
budget.
that's a
right.
teacher. That's one teacher that they get extra just for changing the natural gas. And that's not based on when propane spikes back up again. But, I mean, that's gonna be your money. I'm not gonna look in your budget and say, where's that $30,000? I know I'm not, somebody else might, but I'm not.
We never have in the past.
Yeah, including all the boilers and everything, the year, it takes almost 8 years to pay it back, but that includes, $295,000 at the middle school.
But that's not really, that's
I know,
not
that's-
really apples to apples.
That's right,
Because
because
we
you're
already,
putting it-
we
you're gonna
just
replace it
said
in
the
it.
line and the conversion.
Right.
We never said anything about boilers, and boilers is a normal maintenance thing.
The line is $35,000 to the middle school.
Right.
The big driver in this is the cost of these boilers early, because they're gonna need to be replaced. You're just replacing them early, but the cost of the line to the high school, $35,000, transportation, $8,000. So your line costs are 35, and 8, almost what they're asking for us to pay.
That's what we said we were gonna do. But if he came and said, because we've heard this before, not from Dr. Parker, but if he came and said the boilers at the high school are bad, we need to replace those tomorrow, or they're gonna fail in the middle of winter, we do something capital, replace those.
Correct.
So take the boilers out of the equation, and we can see we're gonna save a lot of money. Or they're gonna save a lot of money, which means we save a lot of money. Yeah, 250.
Recall what the life was?
There's your payback.
One year.
It starts next year.
What the projected life was of and what the expenses were to convert the existing ones in the middle school?
Yes.
The boilers weren't maintained correctly, that was the problem.
Right. And they were, from my recollection, the boilers, current boilers only had about 10-year life at max, right?
Yeah, 10 to 15 if they had been properly
They weren't
maintained.
maintained.
But nobody can guarantee us that they were using
That was
those
a-
chemicals in them
that
to
was-
properly
right.
maintain the tubes.
That was a no-brainer.
That's the kitchen appliance.
And it seemed like to me it was about 100,000 just to upgrade the boiler.
It was that much to upgrade?
That's what
Yes,
we're getting.
because they had to replace the
75.
whole burner and a bunch of stuff in the boiler. So you're almost at the cost of one new boiler to upgrade the 2 old ones. And that's why that was removed from the equation, because that didn't make sense at all, especially if the thing failed in 2 or 3 years.
Right. Wonder how many they run them. They're probably only run 2. At any one time.
So we need to have a check ready for 70,
No, you
not
don't.
75.
You
So
don't-
that's
you don't run all of it.
increasing it by 3,000.
But is somebody gonna sign that tomorrow? There's the question.
Yeah.
Are we gonna sign that contract tomorrow?
I will give my chair a call, we try to get the board to sign it. And obviously they want to know about the funding, how we.
Correct. That's where this all broke down. So we've got to decide on the funding.
But once we send them a check, they're gonna pretty much say the contract, well,
Yeah, they're gonna say the contract's done, they're putting the pipe in the ground.
right.
They're marching forward. I think
Are they gonna put a pipe in the ground without a signature?
No.
I'm sure they'll put a pipe in the ground with a check. If we send them a check tomorrow, they're gonna start work.
No, they've
No,
got to
they
sign
got-
that agreement. Because, I mean, you're on the hook. That agreement puts us on the hook to hook the buildings up.
Okay.
Because they're putting that pipe in the ground at a discount, at least they claim. So we have no way, and I assume it is. But,
Yeah, I mean.
we got to hook the,
What buildings are we have?
Middle school.
we're going to
Middle school, high school,
transportation.
and the maintenance.
We don't really have anything.
Right.
That's just they need the dog
so it's not-
dog shelter, but I don't,
Transportation.
animal shelter.
Right.
Yeah, maintenance shelter, yeah.
Is the natural gas gonna be close enough to the water tower to use that for a generator at some point?
It might,
Let's not go there
there's a
tonight.
very little, you know, I don't know what we burn there, 20, you know, I exercise 20 minutes a week, but
Okay, does anyone,
whatever her number is, mine.
The total remaining.
They want another 50 in account.
Wait a minute, I took something out of here, just to show them the payback, you put the 250 back.
Then they get a year
75, the total remaining is 293.
No, they want that, they want another 50. on top
from
of-
us.
From us.
And
I don't know why.
see, Charlie, go back to the slide where you showed the connection cost.
High school, middle school, which one?
Yeah, all right, that's, what is that, 16?
Yeah.
I'm on glasses.
Yeah, that's 16,875
Okay.
a year savings estimated at the high school, and it's 18, almost 19,000. Let me do a little something here, because
So
I can't see it either.
Thank you.
17
17 and 18 is 35,000.
And it's a little bit more transportation. Almost $4,000 in transportation.
That's what I'm saying. They want
But
us to
that's
pay.
what we said we would do. So we're gonna, that's the connection that we said we would do. But the school board said they wanted a 2/3, 1/3 partnership on the whole thing.
Correct. That's what they've made an agreement that he can sign.
Okay.
That's in the contract?
No,
No, that's
that's
what
what
they're
their
That's what I
board,
brought to the board.
that's what he brought
So
to the
That's what I
board.
brought to the.
Yeah.
His contract is,
Okay.
he's gotta pay,
Which would
his
be-
contract doesn't include anything but the cost to run the line.
How much you giving them for operating?
All these costs for converting and doing all those things that are built in, that's not in that contract. That contract with the gas company is basically 35,000
Plus 35.
plus 35 plus the
Plus
transfer, yeah, so it's basically the line cost. We just had to look at what the total project costs are,
That exact number.
So 150.
and that's what he's talking about.
If you want that number, I'll go with that number. I'll go with 50 right now. And we'll fight about this later.
just,
Yeah. That, I mean, we don't need that number.
I'm just, this is just.
In truth, my feeling right now, what I'm getting is that we should, the contract is 78, not 75. That we do the 78 and leave it at that, because it's the schools that are getting hooked up and getting they're gonna get 50,000 back in less than 2 years of their savings.
can we just,
And they've got the money to do the 50. I don't understand why
Every time they fill the one.
they're asking
do you guys have
for
a,
this.
do you guys have a motion in mind? Do we wanna do, just give them the check for the
Let's
78
give
and
the
then
check for
discuss the other
78, that's 3,000 more than we agreed upon, and let it go.
That may not get the contract signed.
78 is what,
They need 78,000 to sign the contract.
Well, they needed 78 plus an agreement to
No, that's not in the contract, though. That's what they would like.
So-
That's not part of the
What do you
contract.
need to sign the contract tomorrow?
78, like 78.5 or something.
I see you talking about we'll have a savings in a couple of years, but if we do this deal, I think the board will be inclined to do it with the new boilers. And to do the new boilers, I mean, we're trying to put in over $200,000 into the pot to
Right.
make that work.
You're paying for the boilers,
And you're
basically.
paying
Pretty much.
You're
Yeah,
paying- this
and we're
school-
paying the other side, which was really the original deal.
Yeah.
But, you know, because we bought the boilers in, it makes the original deal kind of fuzzy.
Right.
We would have to pay for boilers, period.
So what else is left? If you take the 78 and you take us paying the 250 for the boilers, what else is left?
That's
That's what
basically
we're
it.
trying to figure out.
What's the boiler, what's the number frame for 78, what's the total number, do you know?
78,
$17 $17.77.
just add 60 to that first number.
8,000, we're talking about $8,000, $8,000 difference, right?
Plus it,
And a 2/3, 1/3.
Is that the number, 78, 17? And change?
Total
$78,
needs is $17, plus a budget.
Not 17, it's 18, let's make that 18. So the remaining is 289,999.
And we would just have to, would you split the difference with us on the 89, on the 289, if you just have to take the 250? We'll take care of more.
But see, the reality, I mean, we're quibbling over stuff that's stupid. We were gonna pay for the boilers anyhow, and probably take it out of your pot at the end, because that's a capital project. It's in the CIP, it should have been in the CIP.
Yeah.
We could just pull it out the CIP,
Yeah.
and you pay for it.
Yeah.
So what, after the 250 for boilers, the rest would be ours, right?
No, there's still $39,000 I'm looking at. There's roughly almost $40,000 that's still sitting out there. 78 and the 250. Total needed less than, am I looking at it right, Charlie?
I think so.
There's still about another 40,000 sitting out there.
Okay. Let's blow up the percentage a little bit, I can almost see that.
I think I hit some.
Oh, double click on the C and make it bigger.
Let me put 250 there.
Yeah, let me get this 250.
250. You got 45 there. Should be 250.
No, that would be with the cost of, the 250 were to come out.
Okay.
That's the cost of the middle school without the 250.
This is what
Okay, that's better if we didn't do the board.
Well, yeah, or you just consider the boilers were having to be done anyway.
Because they've been waiting 5,
This
6,
shows
7,
you
8 more years for
what the cost of the lines are and everything with the boiler. That's all I'm trying to show. When I took that 250 out, still got to be done. It shows what the payback is. It shows what
You see the $39.99 at the bottom? When you add 250 in, that's still just the
That's
difference.
right.
That's still difference. And that's why I was saying, 2/3, 1/3 would be,
It's there.
actually it's not even 1/3, because you just have 40 more.
Because they could probably do it.
And we're.
Hey, Charlie, could we add this to the energy saving contract we have?
As an addendum, swap out these boilers.
Oh, that's a Mr. Parton question.
I can ask.
I don't-
Maybe we can get it done cheaper.
They're replacing other boilers already.
Yeah,
I'll ask.
we don't have, yeah, but we don't know,
All right.
you know, we have to take them, I don't think you're gonna find that answer to that question tomorrow, because they're gonna come down.
No, but,
you know, and,
we're already saying we're gonna pay the 7818.
Right.
Correct.
78,818. Dr. Parker's gotta sign the contract tomorrow, or all that goes out the window.
We're
We
giving a
start
check for that tomorrow.
all
Correct.
over again. I mean, you literally have to sign the contract tomorrow, it's the last day.
Yeah, the boiler cost $250 is an estimate, I expect that's high.
Doesn't matter, because that's gonna come out of capital anyhow.
Right.
Doesn't matter. So, all we were thinking, and this was supposed to be 70,000, so it's 48,000 more, which I'm not sure where that came from, but whatever.
But Floyd, just for clarification, we don't wanna complete this project without putting new boilers in there, am I correct?
Right,
Correct.
right,
Yeah,
right.
I just wanna make sure I'm, okay.
Right, but my point is, if we put new boilers in now, or we put new boilers in 2 years from now, we're still gonna have to pay that, and the county's still gonna take that out of, reversion funds or whatever for capital projects like we said. And part of my reason why we wanna do that is not your fault, but whoever's responsible better maintain these new boilers. Because we need to plan a boiler's last 10 years. We want,
30.
yeah, whatever, well, that building's not 25 years old,
Right.
26, so we missed time. But the boilers aren't part of the equation, because sooner or later, we're gonna get that money one way or the other. This is what the issue is,
39.9.
yeah. I mean, we're gonna pay the 78 now, let's go from there, and then you guys talk about it.
All I'm saying is, are you gonna sign the contract tomorrow? Because that's the
I'll bring it
paramount
to the
thing.
board, just tell them, that we're still, it's 40, roughly 40,000 more above the cost of boilers that we need to come to some consensus on.
And we're trying to investigate if we can add this to our existing contract, which will lower the cost for everybody.
Okay. How soon will we have an answer on that? Start tomorrow.
I'll talk to them tomorrow, they're gonna come out and look at it, I'm sure.
In my mind, and I'm speaking for George, not the board, I don't think we definitely need to move forward. I don't think $40,000 should keep us from
Either way.
working this deal out. I think we need to go and do that, because you're gonna get that on the back end, in a very reasonable amount of time. So it's just a matter now, I think our fear is, we don't wanna continue to divert into contingency, and next thing you know, we can't really, put any real effort into some capital improvements on the back end. So just keep that in mind.
But that is still a capital improvement that was coming. I mean, you're doing it a little early, it's in the school, and you're gonna get savings from it real early instead of spending more money on a boiler that's not efficient anyway.
I'll bring
there's
that
three
back
of
to the
them,
board
so
tomorrow.
it might be
and
one
I'll bring
fails
that back
in
to
2
the board
years,
tomorrow,
one
and
fails in 5 years, one fails
I feel
in 10
comfortable
years.
with that, we'll go ahead and move forward with
And
the
just
other
on a, you know, I don't know whose desk this contract's been sitting on, but if whoever has it was my employee, they would be in my office tomorrow
Yeah,
morning.
I should have known about that deadline.
Because this isn't fair to you, Dr. Parker, to be called out and not be aware of what's going
Yeah,
on.
and again, I apologize for that, but we're gonna.
Well,
we're
that's,
gonna
like I
rectify
said,
it. Okay.
thank you for coming over.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you. Alrighty, next up, I guess we've gotten rid of all the other agenda items, so we can move to, discussion proposed FY 2017-2018 budget.
Charlie, do you need a motion to write the check, or just consensus?
I think you ought to, it's because it's more than what I've got. If you would make a motion for the 78,000 and then.
All right, so I'll take a motion.
$17.77.
Can you show us the number again?
I deleted it, but it's.
$78,018.
78,000.
77 cents or something like
Well,
that.
18 will cover it. so.
Okay.
Up to, I'll make a motion up to 78, 17, whatever the number is.
18.
Okay.
78, 18.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Any discussion on the motion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Motion carries.
All right, and get the contract signed, we'll have your check ready. Yes, sir.
All right, we have now continued discussion of the proposed 2017-2018 budget. I don't know if anyone had any ideas on how to move forward. I'll be honest with you, I'm really okay with Mr. Cully's budget. So if anyone has any other suggestions as far as where you want to make cuts. Mr. Thomas, do you have, anything?
As a matter of fact, I do. We put, Mr. Cully, we put how much money into the Ladysmith Road project last year in unencumbered balance? Was it $1.5 million?
1.5.
1.5. And we don't need that money, or any of that money, until next year at the earliest?
Correct, yeah, we'll owe 3.3 million to VDOT in 19, I think, was what was
In 2019?
Which is next year.
next year's.
Next year's budget, that's next year.
And then,
Well-
after that, and it'd be like 2021, we'll owe the balance of that to VDOT, which was 2.7, and then we still owe the Walmart, and as they come, 1 million.
We owe them another $1 million.
It was
Okay.
what'd you say it was 2 point what next,
3.3 first, and then 2.7.
2.7 what year in 2019, 20?
No, that'd be like 20 and 21, I think is what
20 and 21.
Sean had estimated.
And then what was the Walmart part?
1 million.
Walmart's $1
When
million.
they do that,
Right.
when they do their part, and that's an unknown date, they.
After completion?
Correct. It's got, the improvements have to be on the ground for us to owe the Walmart money.
Before they start construction? After they complete construction?
After they complete their improvements, which would be
They're building.
Green Road, the signal at New Green Road, and work in that area around that. If VDOT ends up doing some of that work, then that $1 million, so I would imagine, need to be changed. Because that was anticipating them being ahead of the widening. They're getting the store open prior to the widening. So that is that's a double turn lane on, into the store, and the widening all at New Green Road, and then the whole New Green Road into the back property line of that, at the backside of the Walmart store. So that's a 4-lane road. So it's all that work that $1 million covers, and they've got to do the work.
Okay.
It's sort of like a reimbursement, I think, wasn't it?
Payback? Okay.
Are there other funds sitting out there, like the 1.5, that are dedicated for something else?
Not road construction.
Say again?
Not road construction.
For anything.
Oh,
Oh, it should be a whole bunch of them. Well, maybe not a whole bunch anymore, because we paid for the library and.
I know the proffer fund has chunks of money in it.
well, That's,
Yeah, that's still a
That's-
negative.
that's
And a
negative.
and a big IOU.
Yeah, it's in a negative state, so there's nothing to grab from that.
We have 1.8 million in a debt reserve, which we cannot touch.
What's that reserved for?
It is our,
Long.
VRA loan for the wastewater plant.
Okay,
We had to put up the 1.8 million in.
like a bond?
It's a rate-
Essentially.
They basically call it rate stabilization,
Okay.
so that's there, I can't do anything with that.
Sure. Yep.
Matter of fact, we physically don't even have it in our hand. They have it.
So we can't even draw interest on it off of it?
No.
Okay, what else you got?
Um,
1.5 in the roadway fund?
Correct.
and then we have 1.5, there's various reserves, I don't have a breakdown. The fire and rescue reserve is included, that you all set aside money. There's various ones like that.
Okay.
I can give you a complete list, but I can't get it out of the audit because they lump it all together as capital projects.
Okay.
Each year we show reserves of operations, which is basically when you all agree to roll over purchase orders. I have to show it as a reserve in 1 year and then take it out the next year, to put it in the next year's budget.
It's committed,
Right.
Yes,
just not spent.
that's correct.
Okay. So-
175,000, that is like a building reserve. But I have to get, I don't remember all the details on that right off the top of my head.
Do you have the audit there?
Yes, sir.
What is the total number of reserved funds?
$6.6 million.
Okay.
Done.
All right, thank you.
Mr. Thomas, I think you were.
Yeah, that's fine. I'm just waiting for Mr. Boyer to ask his question. So the point was, our original deal on the Walmart project and 639 was at the point where we needed to, we would borrow that money. And then the Walmart revenue would pay for the loan for all those road improvements. And I think Mr. Seeley, you were on the board, and Mr. Black and Mr. Underwood, so the majority of the board saw that, and I think we gave all those numbers back to Mr. Wilson because it was confidential, but that was the original plan. And isn't that eligible for 3% loan money, the road construction project, because we wouldn't go to necessarily a banker, right, Charlie? Do you recall your original?
No, that was just a borrowing, I don't know what the.
You didn't have an original rate or anything, but.
We had a rate of what we thought it might be, but the
Right.
thing has gotten extended since we planned that by a couple, probably 3 years down the road from what we, so I haven't run any other interest rates. That would be with probably a bank placement or, you know, financing of that's not.
About that time, because at that time it was running about 2.9.
Yeah,
2%, we're up to 4% now.
Yeah,
Yeah, financing of that is gonna be interested anyway, financing a road improvement as opposed to financing a building or something, so.
but I mean, that's something we had planned to do with the original project, and that's.
That was all,
Right,
the only way we could do it.
that was the only way we could do it. Now, you know, you did a good job of saving money, but I'm basically sacrificing now for something that's at least 5 years away. So, you know, my opinion, if we stick to the budget, there are some things, but as first blush, if we take $500,000 of that money, leave $1 million in there, that takes care of your tax increase. And you don't have to worry about your tax increase. But, you know, that's the reality. You're gonna sacrifice what we need to do now for a road project that's 3 years away, at the most. And there is no guarantee that Walmart's really gonna come.
Yeah, but we are.
We've got a guarantee, we gotta fix the road.
Got to do the road, yeah, that's.
Right, but there's no guarantee what Walmart's gonna come, so we're gonna build a $6 million road to nowhere.
No, it's not a road to nowhere now. It's not a road to nowhere now, because if you start paying for the road now and I don't pay interest, the less I have on the loan now, okay, down the road, anything that comes in, we don't have to use that Walmart now just to pay off. Now we can use that money, we keep on saying, hey, we keep on saying to the schools, we keep on saying to our departments, wait for the new revenue to come in, wait for the new revenue to come in, and then the revenue won't be there because it'll be going into a road.
That's the original plan, the revenue wasn't
But
gonna
if
be
we have
there
the
for
money,
10 years.
if we have the money to do it now, and then down the road, we can use that revenue, we can say, hey, look, that 600,000 is coming in, because now I can't say the 600,000 is coming in to go help with the schools, or go help with the sheriff's department, or go help with the fire department, which we really heard the other night, that they need about 10 more firefighters, and he gave a number of 19.
And you're telling them now that we're not gonna give you anything, you're telling the schools we're not gonna give you anything, you're telling the sheriff and fire and rescue.
You're taking out a capital to fund one, you're taking.
Mr. Black, I believe I have the floor, we're not debating. The point is, you're telling the schools and everybody else, and the citizens, give us money so we can put in the bank, or we won't give you money so we can plan on this road project 3 or 4 years from now. When the original deal was, when the road project came, we would borrow the money. The revenue from that would take longer. That's what we said. That's the deal you agreed to, Mr. Black. Now we can debate if you like.
I'm good, thank you, I appreciate that.
Yeah.
Now, Mr. Forehand.
I had more, but we'll stop
Okay,
there.
no, you can go on.
No, we'll stop there. That's the big picture. I mean, that's where I'd cut the budget just to save the tax increase.
Mr. Forehand?
In general terms, I'm okay with the 2 cent. I would prefer 1. I would like to get the school budget rounded up to a even number at least. It's going to require some cuts. You know, we have to look at various things, and maybe we scale back a little bit our study. Maybe we push out 3 years in the convenience center. They're all just ideas and just one opinion.
That's what we're supposed to do.
All right, is there anything else? Do you have anything else?
No.
Okay.
When we're ready to talk specifics, we'll talk
Okay.
specifics.
Mr. Seeley?
As I said the other night, I'm okay with the 1 cent increase, but we've got to do some cuts. And I am constantly reminded of the Fred bus with nobody on it. It's $102,000 a year. That would be where I would actually do the cut at this point. It's real money in the budget that would give us the ability to move forward.
Mr. Underwood?
Mr. Chairman, I am not for increasing taxes when we've increased our spending and we've also increased our unencumbered balance. We're probably going to have $900,000 left over this year. You have 1.5 from the Ladysmith Road project. So you're talking about $2.4 million that the citizens are putting money away, and we're telling them we need a tax increase. So I do think we need to take a look at the money for the firefighter incentive. I think it's ridiculous to go from a $20,000 program to a $250,000 program without any assurance that is going to work. However, I think we should leave the money in the budget and talk about hiring 6 firefighters rather than 3, which would give us some immediate coverage for fire and rescue. So I do think there's money in the budget here to take care of our needs without a tax increase.
Mrs. Long?
I agree with leaving the 250,000 for the firefighters into the budget regardless. I like the idea of getting more permanent staff and maybe cutting the stipend program until we see how it works. But regardless, that money needs to stay there because we know it's a need. The Fred bus I am not real familiar with, but I have heard complaints before as to why are we paying for a bus with 1 or 2 people to drive back and forth to Fredericksburg. I know King George has already stopped their Fred bus for the same reason, that it wasn't going where the need was and people weren't utilizing it. So I do think that's something that maybe we need to look at. There's some little things, you know, the Ladysmith Fire Department floor, even Chief Loftus says it's not that bad, and I, you know.
That's an in and out.
Yeah.
That's a revenue that matches that from the reserve, so it wouldn't affect the fund balance
It's not
or
gonna
the
affect anything,
tax
yeah.
rate. Because it's if you don't do it, it still just sits in his capital reserve.
It's $190,000.
Right.
That's ridiculous.
The pad, you mean?
Yeah, all the fire and rescue that that Ladysmith repairs and the Bowling Green repairs, he has money in his capital reserve. So that was in my PowerPoint Tuesday night. That's
Okay.
coming from fire rescue capital reserve.
So it doesn't affect.
It doesn't affect the bottom line of the tax rate or the fund balance, because it's not in either one of those numbers. It's in that reserve 6 million that Fran's talking about, so it would still just stay there.
And I am fine with if I've had any calls, the calls that I have had, and there have not been but a few, have been in opposition to giving the schools more money. Therefore, I'm fine with where the budget is on the schools. I think an additional 300,000 plus all the extra that we're doing on the sideline and no increase in the number of students coming along. I'm sorry, it's hard to justify going up anymore there. And I would be happier with a 1%, a 1 cent increase in taxes. But understanding that if we do that, we're gonna be right back here again next year, probably doing the same thing, because we've got to keep that percentage in the reserves up around 14 or 15, and we don't know what the future is gonna bring. So I think the thing we have to think about, would citizens prefer a 1 and a 1 or a 2 and then not doing anything for a couple of years? I'm not real good about remembering, of course, everybody remembers the 8 plus 3. That's stuck in everybody's mind. But how, before that, when was the last time taxes were raised?
Right here, we got them. We got that, yep, it's right here. This is the,
Didn't we do a forward in 2007?
Max 7.
That was before you, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. It was 8.
So from 2008 to 2010, it was the
Yeah.
same.
Wow.
Then
48% tax rate.
Reassessment.
It was
Yeah,
reassessment.
reassessment went way down.
That was
then
before
it went to
the market crash.
in
From
2011.
53 to 68
And
to
the market
72
crashed.
to 83 to 83 to 82.
Yeah, but that 83, that included the
11 cents.
percent for the schools, right?
It's
Right.
still a tax increase.
And this is not
Yeah.
really valuable. I mean, these are the real numbers, but they're not really valuable for comparison because the value for comparison would be how much tax I paid.
Right, 10 to 11 was a
And I think
reassessment
I-
year, and the overall value of property went down.
It went down to that.
So that was probably who was here, was that an equalized rate? So 53 to 68 was an equalized rate. Nobody
Right.
should have paid really any more on
Right, right.
average.
Some people.
But that's where we don't,
had a
that's
lot
why,
of
the
disagreement.
place off for the first time it said 48 cents, that was really low,
Yeah,
but the
that
assessments
probably
were really high.
Right, because it was pre.
So 11 to 12
pre-recession.
is 4 cents.
I have that somewhere on my computer.
Right.
Sure,
Mrs. Long, do you have any, do
but I'll have to find it.
you have anything else, Mrs. Long?
Not at this time.
Just, and I've said this I've said this before, but if you look at the budget, and from, maybe numbers aren't always my strong suit, but when I'm looking at this, I'm seeing 500,000 in operating for a salary study. Operating means it's gonna be something.
It's not a salary study.
I mean, I'm sorry for, it's not the study, it's for the implementation of the study. Of the study. So, I'm seeing $500,000 for what would be employee raises. I think that would be so that's an operating. I'm seeing 250,000, no matter whether it goes for stipend or hiring full-time, it's still 250,000. That's operating. All right, and then I'm seeing, what's the other one?
3 firefighters that are in.
Well, yes, so I've got 186 for 3 firefighters that are already in the budget. I've got 3 million, yeah. I've got 300,000, right, for approximately for the schools, is that correct?
333.
333 for the schools. All of that is, I'm looking at $1.3 million in operating, which means it's coming back to us next year. And I don't understand how, I haven't heard anyone suggest that we cut the $500,000 for the employee pay raises. I haven't heard anyone suggest that we cut the $250,000, maybe bring it down, but I haven't heard anyone, a significant number on that cut.
The 250 for firefighters.
The firefighters, yes. I have not heard anyone cut the 3 firefighters that Chief Loftus wants, and I haven't heard anyone cut $333,000 to the schools. So my question is, even if we do a 2-cent tax increase, which would bring us $500,000 in operating, we still have to come up with
630,000.
Yeah, well, that's what I'm saying, but we still have to come up with $600,000. And then you talk about this, Mr. Cully, can you show us on your budget, can you show us, if we don't do a tax increase, what that reserve, I mean, I think you did it before, right? If we don't do a tax increase, what does it look like? What does it look like for?
And that's what's me. I've made some cuts to this particular budget, so that's 1.6. It would go back up. I've made. Can I go through some cuts that I've made that will give you that number? It would just be worse if I put those back. So
You made cuts
going
already?
up to 180 or something.
You made cuts already?
Some recommended things that working with Joey that we felt we could defer.
So Clay said maybe we could defer
That's one of them.
the,
He's already done it.
All right, so in CIP, I talked to Joey. We feel like at the park, for $85,000, we could pave the critical stuff. We had 120 there. It doesn't mean that goes away. Would defer some of the paving until another year. But we felt like the things that are going bad, and I walked out there and walked around the park this week myself and looked at the parking lots. They are cratering and going away. We felt
big
like
chunks.
Yeah, we need to do that work. We felt like Joey felt like for $40,000 we could do the engineering work. The engineering work that was done on Lady Smith Convenience Site is old, and it needs to be updated to include stormwater and VDOT to make sure whether we, what we got to do turning lane and stormwater management wise. So I added another 50 to that to start putting money aside. We don't know that project, it was originally 380, maybe well over $500,000 now. I just don't know, and I don't. So we got to save up for that. So I felt like 90 was good for this year to get started on that, to do the design and put 50,000. So that
They're gonna
lowers
have to
that.
put bathrooms in there?
Yes.
Yeah,
Yeah.
so that's gonna
Yeah.
cost us.
There's things that have got to due to new
at the
regulations.
convenience site?
Some sort of restroom facility from what we have today.
They won't let you use porta johns anymore.
So we have to do,
So only the
All of
grandfather,
No,
no,
we're gonna
the old one's
retouch it.
grandfather.
I think it's something that we touch. Is that, you heard that, Mr. Lambert? So,
Who would enforce something like that?
health department.
bathroom guy.
Kevin?
Health Department.
North Carolina.
No, he's not the health department.
North
No, he'd
Carolina.
come over and inspect and say, no, it doesn't.
So I made those few cuts to, just as a recommendation, these are just recommendations, to see what, and what I was trying to look at was, was hearing the talk in the room of 1 cent, so where would I be with 1 cent? So one of the things that changes when you change that, find something with a purple color, that's something I cut in between a lot of stuff today, so I didn't have a chance to really put, I heard the other night, you don't need the 2,000 for polar bear plunge, so I did take that out. Was that what I heard, Mr. Black?
We haven't used it, we didn't use it. I mean, I'm
So
saying it should be,
But
it
it needs
just,
to be there.
it needs to be there in
It
case
needs to
we,
be in there, I like,
Yeah.
that's easy.
we would prefer not to use it.
Okay, I didn't know exactly what I'd heard there. That was what I'd heard, so I took that out just to see what that looks like. So that fund balance number that you see over here, that's with no tax increase at all,
You're losing
1.6 now.
out of the general fund.
Correct.
With no tax increase.
And so that's
Can you project that?
it
down?
does. Okay, hold on.
When did this thing start?
That projects on down. You'd be at 11% without any correction.
And so it would be at
That's
11.
0%.
That'd be 11% this year? Or
No,
11%?
No, the fund balance 2018 be 12.85.
All right. And then can
And
you
that's
go to?
provided that you have the 1.5 for Ladysmith Road there.
Yeah, I
As
still
a-
got, yeah,
as a
that's-
cost.
It's gonna be
Yeah,
somewhere
it's
in
still money that we're collecting now.
2019 is going to go up because of that borrowing.
Not funding
I don't have
what we're
that
doing, it's not-
figured in.
You don't have what
Not
figured
paying
in?
for what we're
The
doing right
borrowing
now.
in 2019. And so if you borrow this
Yeah.
7 million,
I mean, that's the thing, Jeff, we made the deal on borrowing the money. Now we're putting money in the bank and not doing things so we can pay less for that.
But you still have a debt.
I'll
I mean,
lower
the more
utilities
debt
a
you
little
pay
bit.
down,
for
the
cost
better.
of
No,
this.
it's not a debt, it's 1.5 that we're holding.
has changed though.
We don't have any debt for the road yet.
We're gonna
We-
have
we
it
agree.
19. We're gonna have
But we agreed
3.3.
that, when we did that project would pay for, that money would go to pay for that project. We would borrow the money, I
The
mean,
original,
for that
the original
project.
plan was that
That's what we
Walmart was
said.
gonna be revenue neutral.
That's what
for
we said.
7 years.
First, that's what we said.
We were
I know.
paying
We're paying
for that
That's
loan.
why
for
it's
that loan,
highlighted.
that's what we
But
said.
we were gonna make money on all the out parcels right away. So why are we gonna save money now
Because the cost of money is,
and not do the original thing?
the cost of money is going to be more expensive than we actually.
It may, it may
No, your
not.
president said he was gonna have big things and.
So I've lowered some.
Federal Reserve is still raising rates because the economy's getting better.
Right.
Yeah, rates going up. Repairs and maintenance, I lowered a little bit.
And then what happens down the road is, like, when Ladysmith Elementary School was built, there was no tax increase for that capital cost when Lewis and Clark was built. And then, because the economy was going great, and then all of a sudden the economy goes down, then you get this capital cost of a new school,
We hired
And-
19
and-
firefighters.
and then you gotta hire 19 firefighters, and all of a sudden, or for now, but I'm talking about back then, all of a sudden you get hammered with, holy cow, we have to,
I'm sorry, during that span of time, you hired 19, 20,
Right, right.
24 firefighters.
right.
Right, and we managed to absorb that. Do you know, in 2007, since you passed this thing out, I have a spreadsheet. In 2007, the median home paid $1,029 in taxes. Now, here we are, or in 2014, the last date of my spreadsheet, that median home paid $1,191. That's $170.
Over a period of,
Over that period of time, from 7 on this sheet, from 7 to 14. That's what it was. So we absorbed all of those things we did before.
Yeah.
But now you're
and
saying we
we're also getting hit with,
you're saying we should have raised taxes then.
I would rather, from my opinion, I would rather raise taxes slowly over a period of time that makes sense than all of a sudden get hit with something, because you saw with the firefighter, presented, well, you saw what Chief Loftus presented us with the other night about capital. I mean, it's like $800,000 a year. We got trucks that are 20 years old, 27 years old. I look at the warrants all the time. Before every board meeting we have, I look at those warrants, and it frustrates me when I'm seeing a $30,000, a $20,000, a $15,000 repair to a fire truck that's 20 years old. And so we have to pay $800,000 a year through, what was it, 2020, no, it's beyond that.
2026.
25.
Money out
I mean,
there.
before that.
Balance it against the 1 point, against the road.
We gotta
And then-
spend
and then pay-
3.3
then
in 19, is that true, Mr. Cully?
Yes.
So, and the cost of borrowed money between now and then is gonna be 2 or 3, it's gonna be at least
Yep.
2 or 3 points higher than it is today.
Yep.
Everybody was thrilled that we were saving money for the road project, knowing we gotta do it.
Yep.
Well, I don't know, everybody was thrilled.
Well-
You were thrilled last year because there was no tax increase and we had more money to give to schools.
And we did it.
Now we don't have more money to give to schools or more money to give to somebody else. And we're saying, let's keep this money over there for the road to nowhere.
It's not a road to nowhere.
It's not a road to nowhere. It is not a road to nowhere.
Well, there's
I mean,
You
the
keep telling me
road-
that's our
the
biggest
road to nowhere,
economic
it's
place.
the most
I mean,
heavily.
that was the word then.
But it's, but they didn't, they said they weren't coming this year like they were supposed to.
But we still gotta, and no matter what we do, we've already on the hook for the money from the state for the road project.
Well, I
And we
never
gotta
thought-
pay that.
I never thought I would say this, but I'm a little more conservative than you guys are. Because we're gonna end up saving money while we don't give money to other people who need it today. Now, you guys have never been hungry, but I have.
Conservative.
And I prefer to eat every day as opposed to wait till tomorrow to eat better.
It's just a philosophy. Do you save for what you gotta spend, or do you borrow when you need to spend money? And the borrowing to spend money
We don't
is
need
why
to
we
borrow
had,
right now.
is why we had a RAN when I came to the board for $6 or $12 million,
But
so.
if you're
That
gonna
was
buy
a-
a car,
that was
you
your
buy a
cash
house,
flow.
you gotta save up for
Yeah,
it,
but-
and you gotta keep your debt low
How much
light, so you don't wanna go.
I mean, we're spending,
Well,
and
it's
if
a
we get down
balance.
to it, we're gonna spend another $1 million in utility debt for Caroline Pines that they're not gonna, that's gonna come online that we're not gonna have any money for too.
Well, that's what
So
they
it
should.
might be in that
The,
range, because that's
uh,
97 million.
No, we can't
You know,
take the
as you-
money out for this, for payment of the debt that they
Say
didn't.
by
When we were,
19,
so,
your
I mean,
budget, no.
we've got $40 million in utility debt, we got 1.6 coming out of the general fund to pay it. And that was, we'll collect the money, we'll pay it as they pay, and they didn't come.
If we do the capital costs that we've got here, not capital, but operating costs we got here, just talking to Mr. Cully, in 19, a couple of years down the road, we're gonna be dangerously close to one of those RANs again. Because you're gonna be 11% of a much bigger number. And so as a result, then we're gonna have to go out and
But that's
borrow money
What's
To-
it?
Is that
pay our
without
bills.
with no growth, you're saying?
to pay our bills.
But what's the
But you
program?
can't base a budget on that we're gonna grow,
Right,
because
and
the
that's
seniors are
right.
gonna shrink.
But we can certainly base a budget on the money that we're receiving from taxpayers now. We can do that, and that's not guesswork. That's not guesswork. I know that
Yeah.
if you go back and look at the fund balances from 2010 to now, you'll notice that we've grown. If you notice that we've also grown in our cost. Each year, we've grown. So we need to make sure that we're holding the line on cost. And like I said, we're taking in $2.5 million a year that we're not spending to operate this county. We may need it down the road,
You know,
but we may need it. We may need it for the project, but we know that next year, for this year, for example, this end of this year, we took in 2-point-something plus million dollars that we did not spend on operating the county. That's what we know.
It was 1
But
point,
we're pulling
no,
No, you got 1.5 plus the,
balance the budget.
no.
there's the number, it's $1 million.
But we
No,
put
take the
$1.5
1.5 out.
million
Take the other $1.5 million out that you put in Lake Smith
No.
Road. Excuse me?
No, this was actual that we were revenues over expenditures. We took that 1.5 from the fund balance, that's a
From the
different thing. So if you look at 16, June 30th, 16, we were ahead 1,813,120. But the bulk of that, of 732,840, the schools didn't spend because they
Right.
got a bunch of money in from E-rate and some other things and didn't spend out. So you subtract that out, when you give that back to them, your revenues over expenditures were 1,080,000.
Right. All I'm saying is, you look at the unencumbered balance for the last 5 years, and it's growing, and it should. That means we're
Well, that's
holding the
gonna go-
line on
it's gonna go.
spending. That means we're doing a fairly good job.
And revenue has always been greater than what we anticipate.
So that means we are doing a better job of not spending money, but we're holding the line on our spending, growing our unencumbered balance to make sure don't have to get into that borrowing to pay the salary, money's out.
Right.
So,
Right.
and we don't want to get back to that.
No,
And that's one of the things we're trying to avoid,
correct,
correct?
correct.
So
And we kinda got it.
I think we've done a fair job, and we just need to keep looking at it from that perspective. But you can't take money out of the budget and say that it's not available if we needed it. That 1.5 is available if we needed
We
it.
got 9.
Yeah, if you wanted to unrestrict it, you could do that.
Absolutely, and that would be $2.5 million that we would have available.
I just got a number from Miss, and I'm gonna give Miss,
Fran, is that
I'm gonna give Mr. Forehand the floor after. I got a number from Ms. Hatcher, if we wait and finance the rest of it at about 4%, okay? and
The rest of the
along
road?
Yeah, the road,
The whole,
for,
That's the whole thing?
the whole thing, over 15 years, we're gonna pay in interest $2.9 million. 2.29 million dollars.
And that was
So
the
that's-
estimated revenue from Walmart.
That's just the interest.
That's just the interest,
That was the
That's just the-
estimated
that's just the
revenue from
interest.
Walmart.
so.
Go back, Charlie, would you get us,
Now, that's
But you can't
correct.
just
We
pay the
planned to
interest.
pay, because we didn't know we were gonna have some money in the
Right,
fund
and-
balance
so
to
you
be able
still
to
don't
do
have
it
it.
with.
And that's what I'm saying.
yeah, that's really the point.
That's right.
That's
And that
really
is the
the point.
point.
We agreed to that project.
So
And
Walmart,
agreed to all of that, knowing that Walmart was gonna be the anchor, knowing that there would be other places that would come next to Walmart. Those other places would be the profit center.
The profit to pay for that program.
And
That's what we
we
said.
planned to pay for that. That's how we set the deal up. Now what we're saying is, we're gonna save money, put it in the bank, and not give money to other departments who come and said they need
what
it.
we're,
And
I
do a
think-
tax increase. That's all I'm saying.
I think what we're saying is if there's money, if there's extra money, that you put it towards the project. That was last year, you took the extra money and put it towards the project.
Well, in life,
And I
there's no
mean,
such
and
thing
so
as
if we had the
extra.
extra money, we had the extra money last year.
No, we didn't.
It's-
In life, there's no
No, we
such
didn't
thing
have
as
extra
extra
money.
money.
Then how do we pay the extra?
No, we just put it, just like we put it in the other years, we put it in the unencumbered balance, but it wasn't extra money. It's money that the taxpayers put in based on their taxes, the revenue that we,
It was
that
above,
was
it was
generated.
above projected
It
revenue, let's
was
just say
revenue
that.
that was generated from the taxes that taxpayers are paying. That's where that money came from. It's not extra money.
And
I still haven't got an answer though from you guys on this. I
I
still
would
haven't
like
gotten, okay, yeah, Mr. Forehand, go for it.
I'm sorry, go ahead.
We, most of us on the board want another fire station. We saw what it's gonna be. Over $2.5 million to build, equip. And I only know that means staffing,
It doesn't mean,
okay? We know that's gonna be needed within the next 3 or 4 years. It would be nice to have it now. We know in the next 5 or 6 years, our elementary school is gonna be busting at the seams. We're probably gonna need another one of them too. If not, we're gonna need to do a renovation or an expansion, I mean, to one of the schools out there. If we're projecting growth, it's coming. And personal finance, I hate living right on that razor thin edge of, am I gonna make it? Am I gonna lay off, 5 people? And what 5 people are those? And it's,
realistically,
There's
we've
a-
never done that. We had what was called a reduction in force because that county administrator wanted to do some other things. That, we really didn't have to lay anybody off, so that's
And let
not
10
really the
people
case.
go.
Well, I don't want to say anything else, but the other county administrator thought that was the best way to call it. Period.
But it's, you know, we know expenses are only gonna go up with schools, expenses are only gonna go up with the fire and rescue. Expenses are gonna go up in the sheriff's department when there is a Walmart there.
Correct.
And I would much rather do two now and keep it flat for the next 2 or 3 years than to do one now and then one again, and then everybody feels like they're nickel and dime, and we all know what that feels like. But at least we get ahead of it. Maybe we can pay this 3.3 and wait a few more years till we have to even consider borrowing the next 2.9 or whatever it is, or 3.9 or
plus a million,
2.7.
so it's about, it would be 3.7 for the total for Walmart and the.
I mean, that would be great, even if we get close. I mean, that's personally, that's, I would rather do my personal finances that way, my business finances that way, and I'm applying the same standard to government, and it's just my philosophy. I would like to be able to give Dr. Parker, you know, be able to give raises to the bus drivers and to the paraprofessionals at very least. Yeah, I want that. You know, I know that want comes with a very unpopular tax increase, but I feel like at least in my district, they want better schools. When I put out my information regarding the fire department and how there's 4 people during the day that respond to fires, I had more traffic on that one message than I had probably in most other things all combined. Because they were all, they were amazed. They were amazed. They had no idea. Because the rare chance that they have an incident, if you're in an ambulance and a couple guys in an engine and they're taken care of. We haven't had anything large burned down in Ladysmith, knock on wood,
Plastic.
in a long time. To really reinforce what that very means. So, I mean, I'm just saying that's people talking to me, and that's my observations, and that's, you know, that's how my philosophy on money. And that's, you know, that's just me. So that's where I am.
And that's a good philosophy, and that's what most of us try to live by. But on that same philosophy, I've put money in the bank, and I know my car's going to break down. Do I take that money out of the bank and fix my car, put a new roof on my house, or do I say, I'm going to put some more money in the bank, and then when I got enough money, I'll fix the roof? Because that's what we're really saying.
I think we're still, if I can respond to that, I think we still are when the roof breaks, because literally, if you look at Ladysmith, the fire stations, look at what we've done for Public Works, when they've had stuff break down and come to us. I think we have done that. And I think we can still continue to do that.
Well, and we're
Yeah, I mean,
doing
so
it to some
I don't
degree.
think, I don't think we've abandoned that we're not taking care of, the.
That's the number we've taken out since July 1,
Yeah.
314,000.
Now, how much of that was in the CIP though, Charlie? Because the truck that Joey got was in the CIP and something else. I don't think that little brush thing was.
That one, but yeah, some of the stuff that broke down was in CIP further years out.
Right.
You know, then vehicles we would have replaced eventually, but because we had such a backlog of vehicles to replace,
Yeah.
I had a truck last year that we asked to replace that had 269,000 miles on it. Before I could replace it, another truck broke down that had less miles on it. I had to replace and keep driving the one with 269,000 miles on it because it was still going. And so yeah, we were kind of backlogged, and we did suffer like 4 critical failures of either transmissions or motors and things, and bought some things out, and that's what a lot of that 314,000 is. But that 314 is what we've taken from the fund balance since July, and like I said, includes the 57 last night for furniture at the school now. So we you know, hopefully don't spend $500,000 a year out of the fund balance unbeknownst, but you know, every one of those things y'all voted on, and
Yeah,
felt it was needed.
and
So-
we all agree, we're at the point, and my point again is, our original deal with Walmart and 639 was, we would finance that when it came. We had spreadsheets that told us how much money we'd be spending every year. And now, even after we did that, we get a note from Walmart last year that says, oh, by the way, we're not coming next year. We don't know if we're gonna get a note this year that says, oh, by the way, we're not coming this year, or we're never coming, because there's been a couple of Walmarts that closed. I hope they come, I want them to come, but I don't have any guarantee.
That, you
That
you
one
get- we
point
still
five
gotta
ain't
pay for
extra
the road.
money.
Right.
That
We-
ain't,
we-
that 1.5 is
But
not
we
extra
still-
money.
but
We're
we
still
still have
on
to
That's
the
pay
our
for
hook
budget.
for the
We still gotta pay
road,
for the road.
which is the out
That's
parcels
not
can
extra
pay
money.
for that.
we-
If we do the road, the out parcels will pay for the same thing.
If the out parcels get developed, if Walmart doesn't come.
Well, if
maybe they-
Walmart,
Well,
if,
see,
here we go.
then we definitely
really
build the
screwed.
road to
Right,
nowhere.
the road to nowhere. If they don't come, we really have a road to.
I'm not understanding
If-
why,
if-
I'm not understanding why one of the potential biggest economic engines that we have in the county is a road to nowhere. I
Nobody
mean, you've
could
got,
be.
you've got Ladysmith Village, you've got Lake Caroline, you've got, Lake Landor, you've got, Pendleton, you've got, Campbell's Creek. The biggest part of our, all you have to do is go at 5 o'clock, at 5 o'clock in the evening and look at Ladysmith Road right now. I mean, it's backed up all the way through, I mean, it is backed up. And that's backed up with Caroline County citizens, not trucks coming through.
Hey, that's
Those are
what-
citizens,
they're generating that revenue.
those are citizens of Caroline County. Yes,
Yeah,
and
that's
the
what-
truck
yeah,
trucks may
they
be generating the
want to.
revenue, I'm not arguing
Yeah.
that, but we owe it to the people
But
who are
that's not-
citizens of the county.
We owe
That's
it,
not
and we
a fair
owe it, and
assessment,
we
though.
owe it, that's right, and we
That's not a
owe
fair
it
assessment,
to
'cause we're
use the
doing that
money
road
that they're
because of
paying for
commercial traffic.
operating the county now. That's, you're right.
We're not doing the road because of the citizens.
I still haven't,
We're doing the road because of projected commercial
I
traffic.
still haven't heard though from anyone on the cuts, where do we, from operating, because from operating, $500,000,
I wasn't finished with
okay,
that.
the 250 from the fire and EMS, and the 330 from the schools, that's all operating, which will be back to us next year.
Can I respond to Mrs. Long?
Yes.
Say your
I
question.
said, we need to have the infrastructure and the roads for commercial business to come, correct?
Right, and
I'm sorry.
that's what this project is not for, as Mr. Black said, this project is not gonna help people get off of 95 to Route 1 easier. This project was to make it easier to develop that commercially, which is gonna make it harder for them to get off of 95, because I have to deal with all the people going to the stores, if they come. So, I'd love to make it easier for people to get off the road, but that's not what this project's about. This project was about commercial development, and we are gonna put all our eggs in this commercial development basket, which may or may not come as big as we think. So we're gonna save a whole bunch of money and not do things right now to prepare for this road to nowhere. And I'm gonna keep saying it, because until something's there, we got a road to nowhere.
So what if, worst case scenario,
Yeah.
we've already committed to the state, worst case scenario, they don't come.
Yeah.
And then we're gonna have a or at least a
$6
$6 million bill with no down payment, and we're gonna have to finance the whole thing.
But
I don't
that's
think so.
what everybody's been saying, this road helps the out parcels. So the out parcels will be there developed. The
Wait,
road
you
will go right
can't
by
have
out
it both
parcels.
ways. It's either an economic development place or it's not. Which is it?
We don't,
No,
right
wait.
now, it's nothing.
No, which is it? Because we're committed to the road.
We're committed to the road.
So it's an economic development place,
Well,
right?
did
It's an economic development place, right?
No, it's
Well,
not.
it's
not
one or
until
the
it's
other.
developed.
It's one or the other.
No,
It's not, it's not nowhere and then it's economic development. It's one or the other.
It's a potential,
And it's
it's potential for either one.
I'm back to Jeff's
And we do
question.
have
What are we
to-
cutting? I mean, we got 500, 250, 186, and 333.
Well,
I can find 500.
yeah, that's an operating cost. I mean,
Okay,
You
cut
can't-
all the, if we're gonna say we're gonna cut the employees' raises, just say it.
No.
Well, you said
Nobody said that.
500,000.
I'm looking at the 1.5, I'm thinking.
I'm not, I personally am not touching that.
But you asked me.
Not touching
Okay,
that.
I'm
So I
not.
told you.
So,
Did you ask me?
I said, what are you
Yes.
willing to cut? Now
I
where you
just did,
willing
I
to
just
pull
cut,
money from?
I just
So-
pulled it.
so
That's what I
wait.
cut the fund for the road.
Right.
So that's what I cut.
So we're gonna
500,000.
say, we're gonna say at the end of this year, if we have another $1 million in additional revenue over anticipated, we're gonna put that in the road too? That's what we're saying?
We didn't take $1 million from this year?
Yes, we did. That's
No,
where that $1.5 million
no,
came from.
that $1 million came
Last
from
year.
3 years, 2 years ago. That's not last year's money.
No, last year wasn't.
No, not
I got last
last year.
year's budget in front of me.
That was
It's not
last year.
last year's, it was the year
The
before.
1.5. It was
Yeah,
last
but
year.
No,
Yeah.
it was from the
It's
year
not.
before that we, but we
Right,
didn't.
but last
do
year
it.
was-
It built up in the fund
It's
balance.
built up in the fund balance.
Yeah.
That's why I said,
But
if
it
you
was
look at the
from-
fund balance, well, can you pull the fund balance
Pull the
back
fund
up?
balance
Fund
back up, I
balance.
know
Just pull
where
the
it
fund
came
balances back
from.
up. Just pull the fund balances back up.
It came from the year, there's
So,
two
no,
point
so
three.
let's just take a look at the fund balance. There it is.
Now,
In 15, we're now in 17, it's 2
No,
years
we're
ago.
not in 17, we're 16. This is
That was
16,
the end-
17.
That was the end of 15.
That
fiscal
was
year 15 is 14 to 15.
14 to 15.
Then 16
15
to
to
15 to
We did it
16.
last year,
Last
at the
year.
end of 16.
Right,
It was
the end of
because the
16.
fund balance had built up and
Right,
the
right,
the
and
budget
you said-
came
so we
in-
pulled it out of
In
there.
15,
Yeah, but we didn't do it till last year.
Last year.
Right.
but it
in
was from
16.
2 years ago.
The big money
No.
was from
No.
15.
We pulled it out of there so that we wouldn't have a huge fund balance at the end.
And didn't,
You wanna-
and didn't,
So we
didn't-
can say we didn't have a fund balance at the
and
end.
didn't you guys want to create a separate fund to put the money in?
We did.
So,
To make sure nobody-
that's,
right.
so that's the real deal. So we pulled it out of last year.
Well-
If you want to be technical.
Okay,
Go
we
back and
pulled it
look
out
at-
last year, but it's from
Okay, then,
15. But it's from
So it was
15.
there. No, it's cumulative. Go back and look. Just look at
I'm
it.
looking at it, it's
It's
from
good.
14 and 15.
So look
We
at
did it in
14.
15.
It was 4.4 million.
And look what it
Look
is
at the
now,
year
$1.8
before
million.
that. Don't just go look at it.
So wait.
13, we only had 368.
Yep,
So 14, we had a,
$4 million.
$4 million.
overexpended.
yep.
So that's what I'm saying. So
So that's,
that's
But
so
that's
it's cute.
3 years
So we
ago
agree-
now.
No,
Yeah,
so,
but,
no. So we.
Let Charlie answer.
Mr. Cully,
Remember when you go up 11 cents,
Yes.
you
get the bump.
gain.
we get a bump.
You get a
Bump,
bump in
right, huge
June,
bump.
and that's what happened with that. So that's the bump in that
Part of that's the bump.
part of it. Part of it was, but part of that's we collected way more June than we
Yes.
had planned the year before,
Right, I remember you said-
budget-wise,
right, you
because
said-
I told you that, you
You
would
told
get
me,
a
that's
bump.
right.
And
That's right.
especially
So
with
you get
an
the
11
bump.
cent,
With 11 cents.
you're gonna get a big bump. You're gonna get half of
It's
what you would
steadily
have
going.
But
gained.
what I'm saying is, Charles, but in 15,
Steadily going.
we still had a bump.
We had another good year.
We
That's
had
right.
another good, right, so we had another good year. So,
But the
Again-
actuals for this
again,
year weren't that good.
all I'm saying is that,
I want to know who was the chairman in 14.
well,
For the
They did a
11 cent
Charlie job.
categories.
They did a good job.
Yo, God,
And we have,
And
14's what
we've
we
consistently
That's-
underspent the budget too, so. I mean,
that $1 million that we took out of that, fund.
14 was the-
We had it
was
in
the
16, it would be
11 cent tax
2.8.
That's right, and you had a bump.
so. it was-
2.08, that's what it would be.
The
No,
chairman of
2.5
that-
as a matter of fact.
Huh?
The chairman that year did a
But we
11
didn't
cent
have
tax
it there.
increase.
The chairman
We
took
didn't
out
put
a
money in the
letter
road fund
in the
yet.
progress saying we
So
should do
now
the
it would
school
be
project.
2.5.
No, that was the voters.
It just doesn't make
No.
sense.
And also look at your actual expenditures, you came in under budget that year. But we're getting, yes, this is all part of the whole, but
It
we
is
need
part
to
of the
talk
whole.
about this budget. And
That's what I'm talking about. I'm only talking about 1.5.
And this is great, but we still have debts, and we're adding, we know we have debts coming up in the future, and we're adding more to our budget, some of which will be repeating, such as firefighter salaries.
What debt have we
And
added?
so we need to have, I always feel better in my personal account if I keep a little bit of a cushion. I get really nervous when I know my car is getting older and I'm not ready to pay for it. I would rather have one car payment than have to buy 3 cars at one time for my family, and it just loads up the budget. So if we can keep a cushion with a small tax increase and prepare for the future, and prepare for our tax, our debt load, I would rather have that than have
I understand
a
that, but that, if you're.
3 or 4 or 5.
If we did not take the 1.5 and put it in that road fund, that would be the 16 year end would be $2.5 million. That's what it would be. that doesn't put us in any harm.
Right.
We're not in harm's way with an excess based on our operating accounting for that year. Last year, we would have $2.5 million surplus.
But if that little crystal ball that we don't know what that road's gonna develop or that road's not
It'll
gonna
still be,
develop.
it'll still be
We
there,
still gotta pay for it.
but it'll still be there. I'm not saying spend it all. I'm saying that 2.5 would still be in the bank. It's still in the
Right,
bank.
but we don't, may not have the income from the development of Walmart.
But we can say may
to
not.
pay for it.
Okay, we'll say we will, we'll say we will not.
Let's say we'll not, yeah.
So,
So we said pay for it.
Can we
One
bring
last
some,
thing?
can we bring some order to this? And so,
One last
Mr.
thing.
Thomas, yes.
Can we take a break?
When,
Yeah.
yeah, we should. And
Yeah.
when you
No,
look
it's
at the
fine.
unencumbered balance, which is really the key, and we worry about the RAND, $12 million is the number. Because that covers cash flow, basically.
Right.
There's no such thing as gravy, but if we have at least that much, we don't have to worry about the RAND. The RAND cost us $150,000 to borrow $6 million for 3 months. That's what it is. Just so you'll know, I mean, because you may not know
I
before.
appreciate that.
That's what it costs. But if we're above 12 million, we don't have to worry about cash flow. So we're well above that.
Can I
But
add
we're
a
getting
correction to
close.
that? This number is the actual number of revenues minus expenditures of 1.8 million, of which that 1.8 million, 732,000 was school money that they didn't get. The 1.5 doesn't add to there, it only adds to here.
That
Because
they
this
didn't-
came out of the fund balance of all of these funds here, not
Okay,
out of,
gotcha.
not out of anything up to here.
Gotcha.
So the 1.5 came out of 16?
No, it did not.
No, it
Oh,
would add
It's,
to it,
add to it.
Okay.
but it doesn't change, these numbers are all,
So add it to it, let's see what happens to it.
well,
So add the add the
I
1.5 to
got
it.
that, I know what that is.
Yeah,
It's
you
already
just
here.
subtract that off.
That's already right over here.
Yeah, so
Yeah.
just add it to it and let's see what
That's
it
it
is.
right there.
7, that's right. So that's what I'm saying. So now, if you add the 1.5 back, unencumbered balance is 17.8
That's correct.
or 18.64%.
Correct. June 30th.
So we're just putting it in the road fund, but the reality of it is, it could be right there in the unencumbered balance.
Just two.
That doesn't mean we have to spend it.
Right.
It's just, it's there.
All right, let's go ahead and take a,
If it got to 28 million, we could just say we'll pay for the road altogether.
Agree on the
But if we don't have to put it in the
250
fund,
let's go ahead and take a 10-minute recess, and then we'll come back and we'll look at details.
that's the real number. 18.64.
I'm gonna go ahead and, we have debated philosophy for quite a while.
Yes, we have.
So now what I think I would like to do, if it's okay with the rest of the board, is I think we should go down and kind of maybe vote on each item, the big ticket items, as far as if we're comfortable with, like, for example, I know some people want to take the $1.5 million out of the road fund, correct? And put it into the, back into operating? Is that what you guys were saying?
No.
A portion of that,
All right.
not the whole thing.
All
Nobody.
right,
would take the whole thing.
okay, so let's start with that then. What's your number for pulling money out of the road fund?
All right, I say you take 500,000, that equates to whatever the tax increase is.
Okay, so Mr., that's what, okay.
That's what I would say.
All right, Mr. Forehand, are you comfortable with that?
I prefer to leave it alone.
Mr. Seeley?
I prefer to leave it alone.
Mr. Underwood?
I'm all right with that.
Ms. Long?
Leave it.
And I'm for leave it. So we have 4-2 on that. I'm just going through the big ticket items here. The other big ticket item that we had was the $500,000 for county employee basically raises from the results of the salary study. Does anyone have anything that they want to do with that?
I think you can leave it in there. It's more of a guess, because we don't know the results of the salary study, but you have options of when to implement it.
Correct.
We've implemented salary studies before in mid-year, after the first quarter. We could implement the ones that are lowest or need the most first, something of that nature. So well, that's a double negative. I want to see the employees get a fair salary, I just don't want to necessarily impact the budget or put money in there we don't know we're gonna use.
That's in the fund balance.
Yeah, because if it's, we don't use it, it goes to the fund balance.
Well, it technically is, because we still balance with the 1.4, 1.5 million out of the fund balance. So if you weren't to use it, it wouldn't be in that balancing number.
Okay.
That would go down to a million.
Mr. Underwood, what would you like to do with that number?
The 500,000.
I mean, I'm sorry, Mr. Forehand, I'm sorry, Mr. Forehand.
I wouldn't be opposed to implementing that over a year and a half, if necessary. I'd like, again, for them to have the raise, if it's, the salary study indicates such, I support that. If it takes us two budget years to get there, then that's an option. We don't know, again, we don't know what, it's a placeholder at this point as described, so it's kind of hard to actually say without any data to base upon.
Okay, Mr. Seeley?
Mr. Cully, what's 10% of our current salaries that would be in the pay scale, that would be in the
More
pay
than that.
raise?
This was about equal to 4%, what, 500,000 is around 4% for the people involved. So it's not huge. So I'm not predicting that this 500,000 is the whole amount the salary study may come back and say. I just don't know. And it may take multiple years,
So
even using the whole
500,000
500.
is equivalent to about
4%.
About 4% of our
Across the
current
board.
payroll.
Yeah.
Is that
Well,
counting?
that
counting-
doesn't, that's just if you were doing it straight number.
Right.
That's not solving compression or anything else
Right,
of
some
that
people
nature.
didn't, way more than that. That would just be, if you
Right,
looked
right.
at the
Does that
percentage of
include
payroll, it's
payroll
about
taxes
4.
and such?
No,
No, that's just salary.
And that salary study does address compression?
Yes.
yes.
Okay. Mr., okay,
But
yes.
no, so this is no withholdings or anything, 4%?
Yeah, just if you took our salaries, it's around, 500,000 is about 4%.
What about salary and benefits? Benefits are another third,
Yeah, but
You're gonna add another.
so you had another 35%.
37%.
Yeah.
But that's vacation that doesn't really go up within the cost of.
No, no, when,
VRS and life
yeah, when her salary goes up,
Oh, yeah, VRS
her
definitely.
VRS goes up, and her
But
social
that's
security
part of the
goes up.
withholdings.
Right, all the withholding.
Yeah, that's salary and benefits, that's what I'm saying.
Okay. So,
It's down to 3%.
3% something, yeah, if you factor everything, about 3%. And so that's what I'm saying, it's not a lot of money
Really,
and
we
what the
get
cost of that
500,000,
study is gonna come back.
750.
Probably.
Mr. Seeley?
Yeah.
I mean, 3%, when we're talking about phasing this in, you're talking about less than 1.5%, or maybe 2% raise.
We don't know.
We don't know. We
No,
don't
no,
know.
I understand, you're saying if you just did a 2% raise, you'd use the 500,000 though.
But Jeff, wouldn't you apply that as a target to the lowest first?
I don't, it depends what the salary study says. I mean, so, because what do you do about firefighters that you're training and losing? I mean, where do you, that's what's gonna be complicated about this with, all I'm looking at is, this is about a real raise for everybody, just flat of about 2.5%.
Right.
You can apply it any way you want, but are you gonna affect the people that we're losing in the whole spectrum all the time?
But that's really the issue, because the people we're losing may be firefighters, or they may be assistant county administrators. Those are totally different salaries. I just said that because he's been here longer than I have, so.
I'm just saying that it just is eye-opening to me that how, I'm
And it
for
doesn't
leaving
solve
the money alone.
compression.
Okay.
I know.
That's where we're having so much issue now, is just doing a straight percentage, like you do
Yeah, you
cost of
couldn't.
living.
If it's,
All the people that are being hired in at the bottom are making the same thing as the people been
That
here
are-
3,
been
4,
here.
5 years,
Right.
still at the bottom.
Okay,
And those people should get raises before
But
the
that's
people just
everybody,
started.
because then you're compressing the whole scale down. So you're raising the bottom up and not bringing the top up too. You're putting everybody, pressing everybody into the middle so that you're your sergeants and your deputies are all making about the same thing because you're compressing them. It's not keeping anything going up.
How many of those people did we lose? One or two a year? One or two a year? Scott, do you know? How many deputies we lose a year?
It's hard to say, that's probably a good average. One or two, yeah.
And I'm losing, Mark, how many firefighters a year?
Probably 3.
3, 2 or 3, I was thinking. And I lose 30 teachers a year.
It takes some years to figure out how to get from one place to the other in this county.
Okay. Well, we want to keep that, we just don't. We got $500,000 in the pot that we don't know if it's going to even make a dent.
I think y'all done a good job over the past trying to get the starting salaries up and keep those new employees. I think Fran, what she's talking to is about the compression is the real issue.
Yeah, that's the same thing we hear with the bus drivers. I've been driving the bus for 10 years and I make the same thing as somebody who just started.
Right, exactly.
Yeah. So, Mr. Seeley, you're okay with keeping the $500,000 in the budget?
Yeah, even though
Probably should be bigger.
Mr. Underwood?
But we just have to do it for a couple of years.
Yes, I am.
Mrs.
Yes.
Long?
Matter of fact, we probably should increase, but we won't go there right now.
All right, and I'm okay with that too. All right, the next one, the next big ticket item is the schools. We have $333,000 in the budget for the schools increase. How do we feel on that number, Mr. Thomas?
I would like to increase that number, at least whatever the bus driver projected raise was, and I had it in my hand, I don't have it now.
Increase over the current budget or increase over
Increase,
last year?
increase over the current budget, whatever that number was. I thought I had it. Was it like 150,000 or something like that? But when I get that number, we'll figure out where it is.
125, the bus driver is 267.
267?
267, 281.
So you want to do a $267,000 increase to the schools?
What's that equate to, Dr. Parker?
Putting them basically in the middle. We had 3 options. One was to give them just a step increase, which was pennies on the dollar, similar to last year. And
What was that?
around
What was that amount?
90,000. I'm looking for PowerPoint here. And then there was a mid-range where we took them to, I'm just gonna find that.
Mr. Thomas, that would bring you to about 500,000 total. Round numbers.
That figure for the bus drivers, is that increase or total?
There was a mid-range option.
I got it. I got it.
Do you have this, Tom?
Yes, sir.
Okay, so it was in that PowerPoint that,
I got it. I just had it on another phone.
the mid-range option took them to a starting salary of,
I think that's it.
985. That's paraprofessional.
985 an hour.
I'm sorry, it's paraprofessional, which would be 13,000 per year. Move it over. The bus drivers was, took them to 1232 starting salary.
What were they
From
before?
1064. And the cost of that to shift their salary scale up to a higher, grade on our salary scale was 267. That's total taxes and benefits. 267, 281.
They
So
get
this would put
benefits?
them at the lowest salary that started 1292, which is
What kind of benefits do they get?
higher than Henrico, but still the second lowest in the round distance. But it brings them up from 1061, which is a sizable increase.
They get insurance?
They can apply for insurance.
They can buy it, and then you pay
And
for
they,
that?
yeah. And they can also buy into the exchange, if they qualify to buy into the exchange.
No.
So what is the difference of
90
what
bus
we
drivers?
paid bus drivers last year, and if you give them the mid-rate increase?
Yeah, that, it would go from starting salary, I'm just going from 0 on the scale, and it goes up incrementally. But starting salary right now is $10.64, which is, and remember, they're part-time employees, which would equate to roughly a $7,745 salary. And then it would go up to $12.92. I have it there. Is that over there? $12.90, I think it's $12.92. $12.92, which would be the,
All right, so we have,
Wait, please clarify, because it's only it's 90 bus drivers, right?
yeah, but it's an extra 267,000.
89 positions, 84 filled, 5 vacancies.
That's the increase.
Okay, so 90 bus drivers is
Roughly
a
90,
good estimate.
and 90 bus
That
drivers.
makes the math easy.
You're gonna increase $4,000 a year.
Yeah.
That's if they all work 40-hour weeks.
Yeah.
No, they're part-time,
I know,
part-time.
that,
they work
that,
less
that
than
number
30.
is if they
The
all work
mid, the
40 hours.
mid-grade here you've got is 267,
Yeah,
780.
but see, they're already paying them, we wanted to know what the increase was.
The increase would
not what the
be-
total was. We've been paying them enough to make the payments, we just wanted to know what the increase was.
It says right here, salary cost you changed to grade 115, 245, that's the increase.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then the cost, tax, and benefits would be 22.
Benefits, that's the increase. So salary-
That's the
What
increase.
the number?
Okay, so
What's the number?
Mr. Thomas,
What's the number?
it's 245, 245, 212, basically $245,212.
That's their whole salary.
No, that's the increase.
That's the increase.
Yes,
Bring them up to a higher scale.
yep.
I can't do the math. The math is not working for me.
They've got 115 bus drivers.
No, 90.
No, 90, okay, I'm sorry, 90, yeah.
And if you make the math easy, 267, if you make that 270, 90 goes into 270 3 times. So we're talking about giving
$3,000.
$3,000 to every bus driver
I think it's around that amount. The,
at $2 an hour?
based on their weekly, their hourly.
But if they work full-time, they'd work 2,080 hours in a year like a regular job.
They don't.
2 times that would be 4,000, so it can't be that much money.
Well,
Maybe it's burden, you know.
the hour, remember this on a scale, so you've got people that are further up the scale would be moving to 1870, 2116.
Because the scale just shifts, it shifts up.
That sure seems like a lot of an increase.
So the
But
cost
that-
to change it,
But that averages $3,000 a bus driver.
More than
it's gonna
But
be,
it's distributed based on where they are. on the
depends on
scale.
where they are on the
Yeah,
scale.
well, I'm just saying, that average is if we just said, here's $3,000 to each bus driver, it would be
Now,
$270,000.
and this is fairly accurate, because in order to get this number, she took every driver, shifted them to the scale, and then calculated taxes and wages, so it's to a person. This is to a person figure, so she actually took each driver where they currently are, and put them on that scale and estimate and calculate the amount.
That's full burden.
So that's, yeah.
Yeah, it's actual number,
VRS,
yes.
They don't have,
They don't get VRS.
Actually,
they don't
salary,
have
yeah.
VRS.
the
They
cost
don't
of
have
taxes and benefits.
taxes and benefits.
Yeah. And she also looked to see who's eligible for benefits when she calculates that.
So we've got,
okay.
Mr. Thomas, you all set?
Well, I haven't got the math on that to my satisfaction, but that's what I would like to see, that
until Tuesday.
increase in their budget.
I'm just gonna go for now to around, total around $500,000. If it comes down, it comes down. But that's what it says on their numbers. So
Their
I'm just
number
using-
was,
Their number.
their number's 330
No,
245.
245.
from Charlotte. No,
So
from
our number
Charlotte.
was 333, 650.
Yeah, 330.
267 is 600.
Is,
Okay.
600.
And that's only if we do 2 cents, is that correct?
Right, sir.
300, 300.
Bring them up to that $12, $12.92.
right.
600K.
So there's.
$2, roughly around $2.30.
Okay,
It's a
you're right.
bumping up to a higher scale, to a higher scale, which is roughly increasing the starting salary around $2.30.
Okay.
All right.
It was pennies on the dollar last year when we adjusted them on the
Yeah.
on the salary scale.
Mr. So Mr. Thomas is around 600. Mr. Forehand?
I'd like to get to at least the 500 range if we can swing it.
Mr. Forehand is at 500. Okay.
I changed my number to 3 million.
Mr. Seeley?
Without a big tax increase, I don't know how we go over 250.
Seeley wants to do 250. Okay. Ms. Long?
No, what about Mr. Underwood?
Oh, I'm sorry.
That would be
Mr.
Mr. Long.
Mr. Long, what do you want to
Mr.
do? Come on.
I'd like
Mr.
to get close to 500.
500.
Yep.
Mr. Underwood is at 500. Ms. Long?
As I said, calls I've had have been not to increase anymore. However, I think if people knew the increase was going to the bus drivers and we could be assured that's where it was going and not to central office or somewhere else, then I think people would be all right with 500.
Okay. Ms. Long is at 500. And I am going to go with Mr. Seeley's budget. So, I mean, Mr. Seeley's budget. Yeah. So Mr. Cully's budget, and so we're gonna go, which is 333. Are we,
Or you can just take the average?
I mean, I guess that would be, seriously, that would be the, I mean, we don't really have,
Can I change my number to 3 million?
no. Can we look at an average then?
Well, let's keep going before we start averaging.
Okay. All right, so you wanna keep going as far as the next topic?
Yeah.
Okay, the next topic, which I know we're gonna have some discussion on, is the firefighter stipend.
You want to start your end this time?
Okay, I'm okay with one of two things on the firefighter stipend, Mr. Underwood. I actually did take into consideration what you said the other day, and part of it actually made sense to me. And that's very rare that happens.
Glad you could come up there.
I'm okay with either one of two things. This is gonna be my take on it. I'm okay with either, I wanna keep the 250 total, so the total's not gonna change. But for me, what I would rather do is either we do the total 250 for the volunteers, or we do half and half. Which would be 2 firefighters, and then the other 125 because it would split the stipend in half. So in other words, you'd have 2 full-times, and then you'd have the other for the volunteer firefighter. That's where I stand. So either one of those is acceptable to me.
You didn't hear me.
I met you halfway.
He said a piece of it.
You did hear me. Yeah.
I did. All right, Ms. Long?
No, it wasn't.
Ms. Long?
Regardless, we need to keep the 250 in there. We haven't decided about the stipend. We still have some things to figure out on that plan, some suggestions that were made, but the 250 still has to stay. I also like the idea of possibly taking some of that money and putting it into some permanent fixtures that we can rely on. But I want to give the volunteers a chance to see if we can get some more interest and dedication. But it's still going to be the 250.
So you want to do the 250 for all of the volunteers? Or,
It doesn't matter, we don't have to decide, we know it's going to fire and rescue. We don't need to decide how we're gonna spend it right now, we just need to know the money's there.
when will we need to make that decision?
April 11th.
We don't need, we need to know the
Yeah.
amounts in there, but we don't have to adopt the stipend.
No, do you have any suggestion? I mean, I know it's not a final thing right now, but do you have a suggestion what you'd like to do? I mean, it's good for the 250, we do need to know that, but do you have a suggestion as far?
I think the idea of 2 additional fire EMTs and then 125 going to the stipend program to try it for this year, and then if it works, we increase it next year.
Okay, so that's where Ms. Long is. Mr. Underwood?
I'm not in favor of the volunteer incentive program. I am in favor of hiring 6 full-time firefighters. That's $190,000 additional to the budget.
No,
then,
That'd be three.
It'd be 360.
no, you already got 3 in the budget already.
Oh, 3, so you wanna do 3
So,
additional?
do 3, because remember Chief Loftus said he'd like to do it in,
Threes, I understand
in
that.
groups of 3. In
That's
order to
true,
make,
yeah.
in order to make a difference in the county, you have to do it in 3s. So it would make sense to hire 6. 5 would put you in the same, could put you in the same place if you hire 0, or just hire 3. So you'd have to do it that way. So that's 190,000 there. I'm in favor of the incentive now for fire, yeah, for volunteers is 20,000. I said you could triple that and put 60,000 there, that's your 250. So I'd still want to spend the 250, but I say that that should be no more than 60,000 until it proves to be effective. Then we can look at it and come back and look at it again. Is it where it needs to be? Absolutely not. But this guarantees us immediate coverage. And think about if we have firefighters who are part-time, who are volunteers, who may see this as an opportunity to be full-time. It creates less training for us.
They're not.
And based on, I'm saying, if they see it as a full-time opportunity, so we get immediate service from that. So that's my 190 and 60 to the volunteer fighter program.
Okay.
So 250 still.
Mr. Seeley?
I'm not opposed to incentivizing the volunteers. In 4 or 5 months, you have some idea of how that was working.
So you wanna do the 250 for the volunteers?
Sure.
Okay. Mr. Forehand?
I would like to keep it. I could see maybe reducing the cap to say 42.25. However, I think hiring our way out of this is not economically feasible, at least not right now. And if we are successful and hire another, or have another 50 volunteers that are active, then we have taken a huge step towards providing the service that we need. That same money might only hire 4, 5 firefighters that are only going to service, that's 1 individual per shift. So it's, I have faith that volunteers can do it. It becomes, if the stipend is significant enough, then it becomes a part-time job opportunity, and I think could have bear some fruit, given a little bit of time, a little bit of maturation. So that's what I think.
Okay. Mr. Thomas?
I like the idea of the stipend. I think it helps us with volunteers, which we know we need. But I also understand from the chief that it is better to have people that are paid that we could actually count on and schedule. So I'd probably split the 2 in half, or split the money in half and hire as many as we could. What are they, 40,000 a piece, Mark?
60.
60 on that.
So if I got 3, that's 180.
62-ish.
180, yeah.
And again, I don't necessarily have to hire those people tomorrow. I can hire them mid-year, and that makes the impact a little less, but the fire and rescue folks would know they're coming. Because it takes you 2 or 3 months to hire somebody anyhow, right? With all the testing.
Couple months.
Yeah.
And somewhere between 3 to 5 months really to have the training to work effectively.
So,
Okay.
5 to 7 months, we get somebody, even if we hire them tomorrow.
So what was your, what was your,
With Mr. Underwood, 60K for the incentive and the rest going to the hiring, or?
190.
We're talking 180 and 70, something like that.
180, yeah. 180, yeah, 180, yeah.
I mean, that's my
188.
186.
non-professional firefighter. I would go back to the chief and Mark and see what they say, if they like that idea, what, if that worked for them.
But the money still has to be there in the budget.
But, yeah, we're leaving that 250 in it. I mean, again, there's a lot of ifs in our budget, so if you
All right.
leave it there, it's there.
The next one, the next big ticket item in the budget is, we had talked about is the Fred bus, correct?
Correct.
What was the other thing after the, yeah, the Fred bus, okay, so the Fred bus. Mr. Thomas,
I said keep Fred, I don't know what it costs for us to get back in once we get out there. And I really I can't ding the least affluent of us who are out there riding the bus trying to go to work.
Mr. Forehand,
Ridership on one route's 50% higher than the other route. If they would be amenable to dropping one route, I'd be doing that. If they won't do that, then I can go either way with this. I'd rather have firefighters, honestly, or sheriff's deputies that come when 911's called, if I had to pick between the two.
so you're still kind of undecided?
Yes.
I wrote down drop one route or cut.
Okay, you were gonna drop
That's
one.
what I thought you said, drop one route or
I don't
cut.
have a strong opinion either way, honestly.
You don't have a strong opinion of keeping it or cutting it?
Yes, I don't have a
Okay.
strong opinion either
So
way.
just undecided, we'll keep him as an undecided vote.
But we don't know, we have to contact Fred to see what happens if we cut their funding, if they won't do anything, because that's what they said they would do before, or if they'll just go along with that. If we cut their funding, they may say, never mind, we're not going to service you.
Yes, Mr.
Our
Carter?
agreement runs out June 30th, 2017.
Mr. Thomas?
Yes, I heard it.
Okay.
And that's why I'm saying we need to talk to Fred to see, because they may come back and say it's more or less, we don't know.
Mr. Seeley?
I just see with the numbers are going down and down and down, and King George did the same thing when they got to this point, so if I'm for cutting it.
Mr. Underwood?
I'm not married to it one way or the other.
So undecided then. Mrs. Long?
I think it's worthwhile to find out about the route that gets the most bang for the buck and see if they would do the one route, but it's a big investment for something that few people use, so I would say if you should consider cutting it from the budget.
I'm kind of in the mindset of Mr. Forehand and Mrs. Long as of now. I need to, before I go ahead and completely cut it, and I understand the rationale behind it, I need to get some more information from them. And before I go ahead, I'm not saying it's a bad idea. I just need to, I guess I need to just check that out ourselves. So I'm undecided at this time. The only other thing that was a big ticket item, I don't think we really need to vote on, because I think we've all said it, is the 3 firefighters in the budget. I mean, everyone's kind of in agreement with that, right? Yeah. So was there any other thing that was in the budget that was?
What was the fourth position?
We got a GIS tech.
Charlie, can we train somebody that we already have to do that?
I don't know anybody that has the skill set necessary for that, but
I do. I taught that.
so.
What part-time, you want a job for it?
Can't work for the county and be a board member.
That was a problem when we did that before, then they leave and then, if they're a planner or they have some other skill set, they take their GIS training with them.
Yep.
It's not a position for the planning department, it's a position for fire rescue, plan, and administration. I mean, it's used it'll be used in the upcoming redistricting in '21. I mean, it'll be used for you know, there are a lot of data needs.
I understand.
That, I had one in Middlesex from '99 forward, and it was a separate standalone. They did all my 911 mapping. I didn't use an intercompany MSAC for anything. We updated, new houses are built, we were able to update our maps, because that was a person's job. And then if any department needed something to do with GIS, they went to that GIS person to, you know, we used them for storm damage during tropical storms. I knew where roads were blocked, we were marking things, we had data. We don't have any ability to manipulate any data. You hear it from the fire chief all the time. You all ask him questions, and he goes, I got to pay Worldview thousands of dollars and wait for them to do that. And so I think it serves an important role for the money, but I don't know that I can put it on anybody that's currently working.
Okay.
But right now, our GIS is so far behind.
Yeah, it's an Esri product.
Yeah,
yes.
Esri.
Okay.
I've got a sewer plant operator required by permit, so that is not a, that's gotta happen. And the other position was a logistics person we have currently working part-time. And you do remember we had an employee leave fire and rescue in the last year that had been here 10 years, and her exit interview was overworked. And I think y'all would all agree, fairly good employee for the county. And that's why the chief has pushed this forward. I'm sure the person that then moved into that role of what that person was doing, and is now overworked with, I mean, logistically, things have to be bought and replaced on ambulances on the it's fire truck's not quite so bad, but ambulance, there's a lot of used products that there's a lot of logistics in all these stations, all the equipment that somebody has to coordinate, and it's just becoming, there needs to be a clerk there that's on the other end of that 5 days a week. But anyway, and that's really only adding the difference between part-time and then the extra benefits of a full-time person. So I don't push employees forward to try to build a bigger wheel. I really do try to evaluate them based on the need of what the departments have. And remember, we did chop out $4.6 million in department requests. So there was a lot of employees asked for it in a lot of places. So there were only the few that came through that I felt were really valuable to the organization and into the mission of what we're trying to get done for the board even.
Okay, since I think that's all the big ticket items, I think we need to go back to the schools.
Is there any smaller ticket items, you know, $5 here, $10 there? That adds up.
Yeah,
We're gonna-
Any hot buttons for anybody?
What about the Lady Smith Convenience Center?
yeah, well,
Again, we're saving money too.
yeah,
Oh, sorry, Lady
that was
Smith.
one. Yeah,
Lady
I'd
Smith.
say recommended taking that down to at least 90,000 this year. It allows us to do the site work and save 50 grand toward the construction as we move forward.
Because it's gonna get bigger.
Yeah, the number will just.
I mean,
It's,
Mr. Thomas, how do you, he's got, you right now, before you had 190 in, correct?
That's correct. 190 is what's in the
So,
current proposal.
we'll, just, Mr. Thomas, what do you think about the 190?
I would say take all of that out and replace whatever we have at the end of the year and the additional revenue we have.
Okay, so you want it all gone? All right, Mr. Forehand.
I would like to go with Mr. Kelly's recommendation, take $100 out, leave 90.
All right. Mr. Seeley.
The 90 is gonna be design work, is that not?
No, 40, and I was gonna put 50 aside. We think 40. We think we can get design work done for 40.
you're gonna have to do
This is-
road design too.
And you're gonna have to,
Might be
This is-
happening part of it, yeah.
this thing could cost us $500,000 total, right?
It could.
Or it could cost us $250.
Yeah, we had a design of 380 before, so
Yeah,
I don't
okay.
imagine it went down.
Yeah.
I'm worried it went up. Stormwater, we have to comply with stormwater now, and we didn't back when that design was made. That's why we gotta kinda do a redesign and have a look at, you know, what,
Is there a threshold we pierce that's gonna make us go back through all that? Or is it the amount of blacktop we're gonna have?
yes, the amount of disturbed area, blacktop finished space, at the 10,000 square feet of disturbed area, and it's pretty much a whole redesign of the whole site, so I'm gonna be disturbing 2 acres.
Permeable concrete is cheaper than the
Asphalt.
stormwater basin.
Yeah, we will look at everything we can, because we don't have room for a stormwater basin, so I don't know where we're going with it.
But
Not a
there's
lot of
also a
land.
possibility that VDOT may require a turn lane.
That's possible, yes, so we're not stacking up out on.
At least we own the land.
Yeah,
We do already own the land.
Mr. Forehand, what would you like to do? Did you say?
Go with Mr. Kelly's recommendation.
You want
Take
90?
Take 100 out of that.
100 out, so you want a total of 90?
So we really
Yeah.
want.
All right, Mr. Seeley,
Mr. Cully's recommendation, because I think it's gonna be,
Mr. Cully's recommendation.
I feel like.
Okay.
If he comes back and asks,
All right.
then I'm out of it.
Okay, what's another one? Mr. Underwood,
Take 100 out.
100 out.
100 out.
And my vote is to fully fund it.
What did Nancy say? I missed that.
She said take 100 out. My vote is to actually put the whole 500,000 in this year.
500,000 in?
Yep. To pay for
How
it
do you
this
do
year.
that?
So,
He's tired.
no, it's something that's needed badly. So,
He has to sit in that line.
yeah, I don't even,
Sitting on his
He
brain.
only said
So
100.
the consensus is that it's 90, 90 will be put in. Okay,
But the design work he just said was 40.
yeah, but he said, and then he said we need to put 50 in for, that's his recommendation to keep 50.
Yeah, but you just said
500.
500.
Right,
Oh, I didn't pay that any mind.
but what I'm saying is.
I'm
the
talking about what
voting-
Charlie said.
If you guys wanna change your votes to 500, I'll
Oh.
take it. No, what I'm saying is I
But
put,
my recommendation was, we think that design work will be 40.
Right.
And Joey said that would be the max he thought he would need in this upcoming budget.
Is the 40.
Is 40. I recommended we at least still put 50 aside to start building some
Right.
money for the project, and do 9.
if it's
That's-
gonna cost us,
VDOT's gonna be involved.
if it's gonna cost us $500,000, we put 50 away a year.
I'm not saying it has to be every year, I'm just trying to
I know
get
what
some
1.5
of
is.
it
Right,
started.
okay.
I
I'm
can
not
buy
recommending,
1.5.
I mean,
All right, I want to change my vote on
Four.
schools to 3 million.
Yeah, well, I mean, it doesn't matter. We're doing an average on the schools, we're not doing an average on here. We can do an average if you want.
Up to you.
No, I'll go with a recommendation of the county administrator. All right, so we're gonna hit 40 and 50. So we now go back to, is there anything else? I mean, if we do the 5 and 10,000s, we could be here for a very long time. There was one.
I do have one question.
That's right, I did it.
What were your thoughts? They came last night, was McShannon. I thought maybe split the difference and go up 5,000. I had recommended level fund and they are asking for 10. They've gotten a fair amount of money each year.
So we'll do McShann.
We'd like to do McShann at
Mr. Thomas.
50,000.
Which, increase, just do the
45.
increase.
Correct, that'd be splitting their request in
Just do the
half.
increase, they wanna.
I'd say 10. That's what they wanted, 10.
Yeah,
And
Thomas wants,
Wait a minute,
Mr.
I'm gonna write this down.
And there are people that go there, don't go to jail, which costs us money when they're in jail.
Correct.
So half a person is gonna save us that $10,000.
Mr. Forehand.
I prefer to keep them where they are.
Okay, Mr.
45. We gave up
Forehand.
10,000 bump last
15% or
year.
50%.
15,000.
Yeah, they worked for 2 years with nothing.
Mr. Forehand is flat? Okay,
Flat.
yep.
I'll bump it 5.
Seeley is 5. Mr. Underwood?
Level, no funding, no additional funding. And I'd like to see some data as well,
Yeah.
Mr. Underwood is level, Mrs. Long,
or no funding
I'll
without
go with
data.
Mr. Colley's recommendation.
5.
mean,
I am going to go 10 on that.
That's 2-2.
So we have 2, 2, and 2. So if you, if you did
No,
If
you got
no-
two 10s,
2
2
5s,
5s, and 2 zeros.
2 zeros, so we'll do
So
5.
5's the average.
Yeah, 5.
I'll go ahead with 5.
We'll go with 5, that's fine. All right, is there anything else that
We'll
was,
see what they produce
is there anything
this
else that
week.
was identified as, talked about as last night? Who was the lady from the Rappahannock Council? She
They got full
She got
funding.
full funding.
She-
They got full funding?
They pretty much, I think
Okay.
they were real close.
Okay.
Yeah,
No, they got full
full
funding. I looked it up in the.
And what was
and
the,
Least
the lady from Rappahannock Legal came and they only get $1,500.
But that's what they asked for.
yeah,
I'm pretty
I
sure.
know
We can be
it's-
more generous.
They've been getting $1,500 for 10 years.
Well, I know, but if you don't ask, I mean, well, yeah, I'm not
We can give them
gonna,
more.
I'm not gonna offer them more money.
Oh, sure, Charlie.
Come on,
Be
Charlie.
nice, Charlie, come on. Come on, Mr. Gully, be nice.
We know you're, yeah.
Curmudgeon, come on.
Mr. Cully,
It's
The
what they
debt,
asked for.
debt service.
No, I
Are we hitting the highest interest rate ones? Is this, we refinanced to lower rates. We've already done that.
We've already done all that.
And the rates are
Are
starting
you
to go back
asking
up
us,
anyway.
here's the,
But we refinanced
I know,
all
I'm
the
not
big
saying,
ones.
the rates are starting to come back up anyway.
Right, we're at the lowest probably
Right,
now.
right.
We're in good, that rate rise is good.
Let the rates go up, so. Good for my savings.
Can we talk about a revenue source?
I want to ask,
Can we-
the sheriff vehicles are 9, lease purchase,
correct,
what part of that's lease, what part of
all,
that's purchase?
all these.
All lease 9?
Yeah, but my goal, this is a goal, we're working our way through buses, so we need to purchase, to keep the fleet
Right,
where it is on
understand.
buses 5 a year. So we've worked our way to 3 in this budget. Next year, I'd like to purchase 4, and then the following year, purchase 5. So we'd be no longer leasing any buses, and the old leases would eventually pay down. The year after that, I'd like to purchase 3 patrol car, whatever I can buy a bus for, purchase that in patrol cars and work my way off the leases of patrol cars. So it may take, 2 or 3 more years, and then ultimately buy an ambulance. And so then we would be buying buses, patrol cars, and ambulances, and because those are things you're wearing out.
That's the average rate right now. That's not what you're not replacing any sheriff's cars at 96,000, are you, Scott?
No, that's just the miles that are on them. Now,
That's
they
the
gotta go up-
average mileage now.
Yes. And
No, but they have a policy of replacement at 150, right? What is it?
Run them
We
longer
we
than
follow
that.
the county policy, it's gotta be 3 years old or 120,000 miles.
Yeah.
Or half the cost of the repair of the vehicle equals the total cost.
Right, when the engine
That's
goes or
right.
the transmission, if it meets that threshold, which we're trying to get some of those out that have,
I think you're.
we have
going
some
to
that are
have
way
lost
more than.
everybody.
Yeah, I mean, we're trying to go through, I mean, can we keep on voting on some of the,
There's no voting.
I mean, like, taking consensus
Oh, okay.
on some of the, that's what we've been doing
Well,
going down the
that's
line.
what the budget's.
Yeah, right. Yeah, well, I mean, can we do the schools now? I mean, I guess that's the,
Well,
The-
Clay was no revenue.
The transfer to the Dawn wastewater fund is significant.
That is built in because the customers don't pay the loan. The board pays the loan, and that was part of the inception and the design of that.
So
Rates do not cover the loan.
we can't adjust their rates $1 or,
We have a hard enough time getting what we
28,
do.
I mean, you could go up,
You can
you
go
could
up
go up on the rates.
2%, I just need to advertise.
You gotta have a
$1
public
or
hearing.
whatever.
and what kind of revenue would that get us, really? I mean,
it would put
2%.
us, it would put us on a more sustainable path.
We can, we can, we can.
I mean, I'm not opposed to it, but it's not like you're gonna get a windfall from that.
Oh, I agree, agreed.
Yeah, you get $50.
I mean, tomorrow, yeah, I mean, we can certainly look at that, but you're not gonna get the rate to cover the loan. It's just.
Understood,
Yeah, well, you
understood.
can go up in,
But what they pay a month for water and what Jeff
no,
Black
sewer.
pays.
It
No,
is
it's
sewer.
sewer.
It is
Sewer.
sewer.
I'm sorry, that's
It's
sewer,
sewer.
you're
They
right.
pay
Sewer.
28,
28.35.
35.
What they pay for sewer
I pay
and what,
$75.
what I pay for sewer are vastly different numbers.
Correct.
Have
But
you
their
ever
treatment's
had
different.
feces in your water? No.
Not that I
That
know
was the
of.
purpose of the
They
fund.
have, that's why that project came.
Right.
Their water table is so low
Understood.
that the sewer won't go past the
No,
water.
that I
But
get.
it's a health thing, so that's why we had to keep it.
Right, and their system is of a different design, so it doesn't cost what the sewer system on the central system does over on our side.
How long before we have to replace any of those tanks?
Or pumps or-
Don't know about the tanks, but we've been replacing pumps already.
Yeah, we
How much
replace
do
it.
those cost a
We got
piece?
the freeze measure.
But it's 3 or 4
The
months.
system's in much better shape than it was when I got here. We've replaced a lot of pumps that were causing us problems. And so we.
Is what they're collecting covering that cost?
Or we at least break.
Almost.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, we're covering maintenance and operations, I think. It's mainly the loan.
Can we look at 2% there?
years, no interest.
It was a 20-year loan, no interest.
That's what.
But the board did agree they would basically cover that.
Plus, we got like 2 or 3 million in grants from the state.
Okay, can we
Can we move on to
budget
the,
here?
can we move on to
Is that
the,
a phase?
is there, I mean, we're talking about really, I'm trying to get the big ticket items here. Dawn wastewater, I think we can talk, it's not gonna bring us a whole ton of revenue. I mean,
I would like for us in the future to pursue,
that's fine,
I mean, we're going up with water.
right.
We've gone up in sewer in the past for the county system. It's, how long has that been level funding or level billing?
We haven't raised it since 2014.
The county water,
I mean the Dawn wastewater. When did that,
Same thing, same time we did the last water increase.
okay, that was 2014.
and really the water increase we're doing now is $13,000.
Yeah.
I'm only going along with that because when we apply for loans, the lender usually says your water rates are too low.
It's still
But
too low.
most of those people are my constituents.
All right, can we now go back to the major ticket that's still out there, and that's probably the biggest ticket on there, is we have a series of numbers on the schools for operating. We have, the average between all of us is 447,295. Or, yeah, is that-
447,
275.
275. Sorry.
So,
Can you say it again, I'm sorry?
the average is 447,275.
That increase is almost $110,000 over Charlie's budget.
Yes. All right. I guess it gets down to,
You can't get there from here.
You want to see
You
what
may as
that.
well
can we take a look at what these numbers do?
All right, well, we didn't really cut.
Well, that's the money we cut from
I want to cut the
the
other.
convenience side.
We didn't,
You didn't cut nothing to cover all that.
he cut the convenience
Yeah,
side.
that's already.
No,
that's
we
already-
went from 100 to 90.
Yeah, I've already.
It was already in there.
Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, he'd
He's already
it.
cut Fred in there, so that's $207,000 it's already cut.
Doesn't that cover the schools increase?
Nope, not that much,
The schools increase was only 100,000.
333.
That's what we already got in the budget.
Yeah, but you still haven't covered you're not nowhere close.
What do you mean we're nowhere close?
You're nowhere close.
I don't understand how 200 is
Well,
nowhere
are you gonna
close.
cut, are you gonna cut Fred to get your,
No, we're,
Yeah,
Well, I guess
Okay.
they're gonna wanna see it all.
Do-
we're gonna see what
We-
Fred comes back.
how many, can we talk about the penny increases? So let's start with 0 and then we'll work up our way to 2, I guess. We'll start with the lowest and go to the highest. Mr. Thomas, on a 0-cent increase, what do you say about that?
I'm based on where the budget and the money is going, I'm gonna say yes on 0.
Mr. Forehand?
Don't like that idea.
No, you get the big 0, 1, or 2.
Yeah, 0, 1, or 2.
We'll start with 1.
Mr. Seeley?
1,
Mr. Underwood?
Don't even ask.
I've already written it down.
Mrs. Long?
I'll go, 1.
I'm 2.
Let me just.
Just know we're gonna have to come back next year.
I'll put 1 in here so I see what.
I want to
But I
see.
wanna, I'd like to see what it looks like.
I'm open to
both
2.
ways,
I just want to see what 1 looks like with my priorities prioritized.
Well, we're not gonna get everything we wish for. I mean, we're just not gonna, it's not gonna happen. So if we're all gonna,
I said, okay, Sam. All right.
Is Harris Teeter in there, Charlie?
because there's no revenue coming for a couple of years.
No, what, we're gonna get like another
It is
You're not gonna-
50,000 from their real estate.
You're not gonna see anything from them till 18,
19.
19.
This is the
And
thing,
Walmart in
I can
21.
tell everyone that on my little surveys I did at my community things, last, spring, the one thing people were willing to pay for was fire and rescue. We can justify increasing taxes because of what we're putting into fire and rescue, and people are gonna complain because everybody wants somebody to show up when they call, so I don't think we're gonna get into trouble. And I haven't had anybody call since the ad came out about the 2% and fuss at all. They just wanna make sure that that's what it's going for.
So the
They want
transfer
people
of the
to
fund
show up
balance,
when they
Transfer of fund
call.
balance will be one
We
million
had
six
72
thirty.
calls, but they didn't even respond.
Transfer from?
Yeah. To
We had
balance.
72 calls, they didn't even respond.
Mr.
Fire and rescue.
Yeah.
We
Mr.
can take care of that.
Mr. Forehand, the transfer out of the fund balance with a 1 cent tax increase is 1.6 million.
And how much did we get last year? I know I'm not Mr. Forehand, but we got at the end of the year,
We were 1 million ahead,
at the end of last year.
1
But his
million
projection now is what?
950.
No, with the 1 cent is 950.
No.
No.
What we had last year, revenue versus expenditures, additional fund balance was 1 million.
1 million.
Because 700 of that 1.8 was schools. Now, they don't predict they're gonna have 732 this year because of the 190 they got cut from the state. So I'm not expecting a big thing there. So if this county runs about the same, we should be around 1,950,000, something like that we're shooting for.
Okay, and if you do let's just look at all of them. Let's do a 0.
Hmm?
2 million.
Zeros goes to 1,768,793. Whoops, no, that ain't right, 'cause that changes.
That's not right.
Well, that changes see, this percentage is based off of, my formula makes all these sheets work as a percentage, so I gotta go up to get to the 49, let's see what that puts me. Recent, that's what it's gonna be. It just means the schools are getting, more of our 411, so, 8.
And what's the basis, what number is in there for, this is your budget, right? Mr.
Right,
Crowley?
yeah, but with those changes,
It's becoming
With-
ours
With,
now.
with just, well, I wanna know what numbers are included, see if it's the same one in my book.
They're not.
no.
They're not even changed.
But we've only changed a handful of them.
Right, but it
These are
ripples through all
these-
his spreadsheets.
But the numbers in your book will be the same, except for the things we change. But he's got that spreadsheet too, if you want.
This is big.
Can you use GoalSeek?
So somewhere in there, just for squeals and giggles, 1,881,111.
Taking 2 million, okay, 1.8, 1.9.
About 1.9.
So we would use 881,000 if we got the million back out of our $16 million fund balance going into next year.
All right, let's look at the 2.
And we still get 3 firefighters.
Let's see.
Let's get with the 2.
Oh, crap. Sorry. Getting tired.
I know, it's like,
All right, you can see 59% of that we did the school, 700,000, so I gotta go back to 26.75. And I gotta go back to what that was 32.5.
What is it, percent? What's cost us in the budget, 2%?
Well, he's
Right,
doing
right,
that
right.
to give the school
Just-
number.
Right,
And then the school number is our biggest thing, so they affect everything else.
right.
447 was the number? Is that the consensus number?
Can't you use the goal
Plus
system?
their leases
You can get
and their
447 and then
new
tell
bus
you what that guy is.
they're,
Yeah, could. 447. that's what I think.
275.
No, I can't tell you. It's past my bedtime. 1,000,003.
So we're taking 1.3 out. And you cut Fred,
Yeah, that was already out. That's
and
an
you've
expense
already
together.
cut Fred, and you've already,
Huh? Yeah, McShannon had already added 5 of that. So they ended up taking some good things. That already cut the 9 he was in and,
okay, I guess
yeah,
question,
foreman.
I guess a question for all of you is this, here's my thinking, and my thinking is this, is if we all hold our ground, and if we all stand firm, I'm not sure that we're gonna get something passed. Because we have a wide variety of differences. I mean, we really do. Did everyone make a final, Mr. Foran, you're still at the 1, you're still, Mr. Thomas, you're at the 0,
Yes.
Mr. Foran, you're at 1.
I mean, I'm okay with that right there.
You're okay with what? 1?
1. I
No, I'm
changed back to
sorry.
1. I changed back to 1
Okay. I was okay with the numbers when
when it was 2.
it was 2.
So you're okay with the 2. Mr. Seeley?
I'm at 1.
And that's cutting Fred completely?
Yeah, that was Fred was zeroed out.
Yeah.
Mr.
And we
Underwood's
don't,
at 0.
yeah, we don't know what that's gonna mean.
Mrs. Long?
Isn't that one for ladies meant to?
I would like very much to see this board vote on a united front, because I think we do need to work as a team, and so therefore I would be willing to do the 1,
That's Fred 0.
but realizing that the economy changes, we may be back here again next year raising.
We may have to, and come back and look at it every year. That's what we do, is budget for every year, look at it every year.
In the reevaluation year next year?
Reassessment.
Reassessment.
No,
We
no,
just did
no,
it.
we just did it.
We just did
We
Yeah,
don't
it
it's
wanna
not-
do that
that was another
again.
4 years.
last year when the guy.
Yeah.
Year before last.
Yeah.
Blue Bridge is last
It
year.
took effect last
Yeah,
year.
when you were chairman
Yeah, but
last
we
year.
did it the year before that.
We got 4
Yeah, but it
years to
took
go.
effect last year.
Right.
16.
We got a ways to go.
Well, it's every 2 years, right?
That's
No,
why
it's
we went
before
down
four.
to
In rural counties, can get,
4 is the minimum.
Right.
5 is what we did to give people.
You can
6
get
is the
6.
max. 6 is the max.
6 is the max in rural county, under a certain
Yeah.
under 50. What's the minimum? What's
You
that?
can do it every year if you.
Max is 6,
Yeah.
4 to 6
What's
years.
the minimum? You can do it every year?
Yeah,
do it every year, but you
if
couldn't
wanna
afford-
spend
you
it.
couldn't afford it.
We couldn't afford it, it's expensive.
No,
But real
Yeah, no,
estate
yeah.
prices.
Or you can
are good,
hire
though.
an
That's what we
assessor.
need to do.
Which would cost you that much money.
So, does anyone,
100 grand.
I mean, this is where we are. I mean, we have, I guess, I'm the only one at 2, we have 2 at 0, and we have.
Clay says
What's
he's
Clay-
at 2.
You got 2
Clay's
at
at
2.
2. So we've got 2 at 2, 2 at 1, and 2 at 0.
That's 1.
So, I mean, if we're gonna split the math, the reality behind it is, we're at 1. I do agree with Nancy, I mean, there's things about this budget that none of us like, but the reality behind it is, if we also hold our ground, we could be here till June. And,
No, we're gonna be here till April 11th when we have to set the tax rate.
right,
So,
But-
Once you set the tax rate, what's the budget?
we can set the tax rate and then quibble about other stuff, but we gotta set the tax rate.
Anybody got any negative phone calls regarding 2 cents advertised?
I have not.
I have 3 emails and 1 constituent here and 2 phone calls.
I had no negative, except, sorry, Dr. Parker, I've had a couple about the schools, but other than that,
They weren't fundamentally opposed to 2 cents, but they were
they
just
just
upset.
They didn't think it should go that way, it should go to county services. Other than that. But they weren't fussing about the proposed 2
There's a lot of
cents.
people you never hear from.
Yeah, that's true, although I do find that the ones that are unhappy are usually the ones that you hear from.
And my unhappy ones just talk to everybody.
Yeah, try going to the
The
post
biggest
office in
mountains.
Bowling Green.
What's
I
that?
go.
So what are we thinking?
Mm-hmm.
I think you've done all you can do tonight.
See, they're gonna deliver.
Right, I understand that. Okay.
I don't know that there's any, you've heard everything, I don't believe you're gonna
I
hear.
think Mr. Cully's done a
All right,
wonderful
let's go.
job. You've done a
Thank you.
good
I think
job.
we've got a basis to go back to the meeting then.
Can you get us, Mr. Cully, can you get us some Fred information?
Go ahead, mark down to call them tomorrow. If we can get it by the 11th, we'll certainly have it.
And then we.
But I know our agreement runs out.
Right, but then we need something from from Chief Loftus about the incentive program versus hiring people,
When he gets,
and what he thinks is best. He's on
I
vacation.
think I know, but I'll
So
let
we
him
have to
speak.
vote on the rate.
Hey, Mark.
We should have came out of here.
I called in an accident on 639,
Well,
going
the
towards
county
Lakeshore.
agent.
Before I got to Route 1, the fire truck was on its way. So you guys had a great response, great response. Now, had there been two, that's another story, but on that one, great.
Can we go to, since I think everyone's really tired, can we go to, other issues? Does anyone have any other issues they need addressed?
That was just my other issue, how good they responded.
Okay, anyone else have any other issues?
Make a motion, we adjourn.
Second.
All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
We are adjourned.
Thank you for staying, guys. I know it's late.